Welcome to the Occult Rejects. This episode, we got a very special guest and a great topic, something I can never stop talking about, and that's Rosicrucianism. But before we get to Richard Ruach, let's introduce the other rejects. And we got the Loon, Judith, joining us again. What is going on, Judith? How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and thank you for having me today. You can find me on YouTube under the Loon and on X, and I basically talk about mindfulness and self-development.
Yeah, thank you very much, Judith. I appreciate you making it. And Jin, Frada, what is going on, Ninja?
Frater. I guess you're not really Frater. You're really Cardinal Electric
Yeah,
Head, Mr. 93, boss. So what's up? So basically, I'm really excited. I was on today a little earlier, and so people can, which was a great show. I'm really happy with that. And so if you want to check me out, they can check me out on X, Twitter, at Wukong Reborn, WUKONG Reborn, or on the show account at Threshold Saints, which is also for IG. You can also follow me on Substack, thresholdsaints.substack.com. And you can also follow the Grey Lodge at thetruegraylodge.com, TRVE, graylodge.com. Our next space will be February 13th, Will as the Cause of Fire, an exposition on the Gnostic Seth. So everybody check that out. It'll be live, and subscribe, like to our YouTube channel, and that's pretty much it. And if you're interested in any of the other brothers, you can check out that link below, and they're all there as well. So thank you guys. I'm really excited, and I think we'll have a great night.
Oh yeah, yes, I definitely think so too, sir. But thank you for making it, Jin. I know it's the second show. I appreciate that. And yeah, Ethan, what is going on, sir? How are you?
Peace on earth, all is well here. I'm always excited to communicate about Rosicrucianism. So, Richard, this is going to be fun. Appreciate you. Easy to find online, Ethan Indigo Smith on all the social media, and frequently writing articles and occasionally writing books, little Tai Chi, little sacred geometry, the usual. So, appreciate you guys.
Occasionally writing. This guy, he's so, yeah. Yeah, he's a prolific writer. Remember, you're a prolific writer.
I gotta get that book.
You got to put it out there. You got to put it out there, then it happens. But thank you very much for making it, Ethan. And finally, last but not least, we got Jules from Grey Pilled. What is going on, my man? I've missed you all week. How are you?
What's up, man? It's been a long week. Guys. It's good to see you again, Judith, Ethan, as always. Jen, it's been a while. It's good to see you too, and Richard, it's good to meet you. Happy to be here, guys. I am Jules, host of the Grey Pill podcast, the Mississippi Mystic, the handsome Hierophant. This topic is actually something that we discuss quite often on my show. Rosicrucianism in itself, but all the concepts that come from it. And we read a lot of Manly P. Hall. So,
yeah.
But yeah. Hope everybody had a good week, and happy Freaks Day. Ready for the weekend. Tomorrow we're actually reading the adepts in the Western esoteric traditions. We're finishing up the physical book, but we still got, I think the PDF goes for hundreds and hundreds of pages. So.
Yes, I will be there for that one.
That and the Volsunga saga tomorrow morning, guys. You can find me on Twitter at GrayPillPod and over on Rumble. Also, I have a merch store now, Shopify, which I just fixed it. I thought I had it, but I hadn't hooked it up all the way. Finally fixed it, so you can go over there. Also, graypill.printify.me. I'm putting up some new designs this weekend. Only a couple on there right now, but it's good shit. Finally, after 2 years, we 2 years, 2 years in Grey Pill this last week. So,
oh, nice, man, good for you.
Yeah, here I can
congratulations.
A little applause for that. Excalibur is fun. Had a good night the other night. But
good.
Happy to be here.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much, Jules. And finally, the guest himself, Richard Ruach. How are you, sir? Please let everybody know where they can find all your amazing work.
Well, thank you for introducing me. My name is Richard Ruach. I enjoy memes, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. I'm almost at 1,000 followers. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Substack. Where else can you follow me? It's just up on YouTube. On YouTube, I post videos. I post silly videos, sometimes serious. But also, follow me was on YouTube every weekly I do a live stream and we have a little esoteric book club going on. This is my mission, is to increase the enthusiasm of the Western esoteric tradition within society. So we've finished Beelzebub's Tales to His Grandson by the mystic Gurdjieff, and we're currently going through Manly P. Hall's Secret Teaching of All Ages. So let's go. Let's go.
Love
The
it.
synchronicities, dude. Nick, we read, when was it, 2 weeks ago that we read Beelzebub's Tales to His Grandson? So, man, I haven't, that's what we do. I was just saying.
When you were speaking, I was like, oh my God.
Do the esoteric book review. Well, we call it Gods of the Morning Wood, because we do it
It's
every
early
Saturday morning. And,
nice.
You know,
nice.
Yeah. Little
play on words there.
Little play on words.
But, Richard, I think if I remember correctly, you were suggested by Colin. That we just had on the show recently, and he was like, I really think this guy would fit your show. He's got a good sense of humor, and he's really good at what he does. So I was very much looking forward to it.
He pumped me up. But yeah, I kind of accidentally fell into interviewing people on my channel as well. And we kind of became friends, me and because I started interviewing people, and I was like, you know what? There are all of these esoteric people on YouTube, and it's all, you see YouTube sometimes, and it's almost like different islands. And then every now and then there's like, you know, a place like this where everything connects and you're like, oh my God, I know that guy. And so I was like, I want to connect to these islands. So I connected with Colin. I think I shouted him out in a video and he responded in the comments. And I was like, can I interview you? And he was like, yeah, sure, bro. And we hung out. He's good. Yeah,
we had him on. And that was I thought it was a great interview. I really like to get him on again. Actually, I'm going to go to, I think I'm going to go to the symposium thing that him and I speaking at. I'd like to meet them in person.
I wish I could go to that.
Yeah, it should be cool. But Richard, so when did you, or I guess like how did you get into this stuff? You know, I asked that to all my guests first question. What got you into the occult esoteric?
So this is difficult because it's not like, I know some people have a moment or it's just like, it just clicked, man. Or, you know, it's like a superhero origin story. Like my parents died and I had to lock in. For me, it's like none of that. It's just, I was born with a burning fire for something. And it's always difficult to describe to people because it's like, I didn't know what it was. And so I couldn't go up to a person and be like, hey, do you know where to find this? Because I didn't know what this was. I didn't know what Hermeticism was. I couldn't even type that into Google because I didn't know what it was. I only knew that once, like, I just knew, like, if I saw it, I knew what it would be. And so I was like, looking. I went to Kundalini yoga places, Reiki places. And then one day, I was in uni, I was like 19 years old, and I was hating life. And I was walking from like one lecture to another, and I was passing through a hall, and I saw this flyer on one of the boards, one of the chalkboards. And it said like, Gnosticism, alchemy, Kabbalah, astral projection. And I was like, I know what those things are. I didn't really know what those things are, but I was like, this is interesting. And so I went. There was a guy teaching in the back of his house, and there were like two other guys. This guy walks in with Ugg boots and a cup of tea, and he's just like, okay, let's talk about alchemy. And I was like, blew my mind, unenrolled from uni, and just basically got a crappy trade job where I would like wake up at 6, go to work, come home at 2, and then just, I spent the next 10 years just studying literature and like meditating. And so and then eventually through a certain other interesting kind of way about it, I started the YouTube channel. Well, that the YouTube channel itself is also an interesting tale if you want me to get into it, but that's how I got into this. That's my origin story.
Nice. You know what? Funny, the first question I got after that, you mentioned Uggs. Are those big there because they're made in Australia, right? I mean, is that like a normal shoe to see on everybody?
Yeah, so I don't know, actually. This is kind of a thing. It goes through phases, because there was a point when I was like 15 and all the girls were wearing them out.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
But then it stopped, and I'm like, here's the truth about Ugg boots. Ugg boots are disgusting.
Gotta wear with the pajama, not the pajamas, the sweatpants too, right?
Exactly. It's like, but it's like they're really comfy, but once you sweat once, they stank. They stank, dog. And so I don't know if people just don't know, and then everyone's like, no, it's gross, and they stop buying them, and then the race memory is forgotten, and the next generation just goes through a phase of buying Ugg boots or something. That seems to be what happens. It's like it's a generational thing. I haven't seen this.
They're comfy.
I've owned them myself. I mean, I
have to defend them. They're great farm shoes. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know.
If I have to run out to feed the chickens or do something, it's Uggs for sure.
I feel the same about Crocs, though. I just feel like I don't know.
I've had the Uggs with like the sole and everything, so you can actually go out in the
Like-
street there.
Yeah, you can use them for something else other than just walking. But
That's funny though. I was just wondering because I think they're made in Australia, correct? So I just assumed-
Yeah. In all of the souvenir shops, it's like Ugg boots, and it's like a coin pouch made out of a kangaroo's ball sack.
nice.
Wow, awesome. Nice. So we're going to talk about Rosicrucianism. I guess that is a topic that you're very much into, sir.
I'm very passionate. Very passionate. I enjoy
Nice.
Rosicrucianism, Hermeticism, Gnosticism, all of the isms.
I seemed very very intrigued by people who promoted it. You know, I covered a few people like Michael Mayer and Robert Flood. You know, what do they call them? Apologists?
Yes.
Whatever. Yeah. I was very much into their style of stuff. So I was very intrigued with Rosicrucianism. And I've had other, I had God, I already forgot that other guy's name. He came on the show. He worked for Manly P. Hall. He was into Rosicrucianism. Yeah. Ronnie Pontiac. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Well, Hall
Maybe I'll put you in touch with him.
Hall
Yeah, he
was
works
a
for Manly P. Hall.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah,
Say
the
that
name
again?
pops, but
Jules, say that again.
No, I said, well, Hall was in that lodge, so he was a Rosicrucian.
I heard Hall was friends with Max Heindel, but I was unaware he was in a Rosicrucian lodge.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it as well, kind of expressed through his text and what he writes as his thought when he puts in his 2 cents here or there. It's very,
You see the
very
influence.
reminiscent of a lot of Rosicrucian texts. But no, man, I'm very excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
You probably know a lot more about it than me.
Yeah,
So.
probably all of us here. Yeah. So I don't know where you want to start with that. I mean, you want to give an idea, maybe for people who don't know. I mean, a little bit of history of
Well,
it.
I mean,
I know that it might include their 3 productions too that was put out.
yeah, I mean, well, one thing that's always hard to describe is what is Rosicrucianism. And what I like to say is Rosicrucianism appears to be a synthesis of 2 things. It seems to be a marriage of, how should I put it, Italian Renaissance Hermeticism and native German mysticism kind of came together and touched and made a baby. And that was Rosicrucianism.
I like that.
Well, it did start in Germany, correct? I mean,
Yeah, so the
that's
3
where the
manifestos
showed up and all those things.
Well, the 3 manifestos, apparently there's actually 6, which I did a video on the 4th one recently.
Oh,
which is
okay.
interesting. But the 3 first manifestos were published in Kessel, Germany. But it's one of those things, it's like the influences, when you look at what influenced the Rosicrucians, you can kind of get some flavor of Giordano Bruno, you can see Ficino, there's these hermetic texts coming out of Italy. And then at the same time, you've got like Jakob Boehm and things like that. A lot of Rosicrucians read him. So it's that kind of mysticism and Italian Hermeticism that kind of comes together in this Rosicrucian synthesis.
How you said like Giordano Bruno and Jacob? I don't know how you say that guy's name. Jacob Boehm.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Yeah, but they're both also very, yeah. I recorded a whole solo episode realizing I said his name wrong and literally went in and edited out the last name every fucking time. I was ready to just pause my computer because I was like, I know somebody's gonna bust my balls about saying this guy's name. Oh, you said his name wrong. How the fuck do you know anything about him? Well, so I didn't want to deal with that, but I did notice that a lot of the people you just mentioned now also have a very, in my opinion, very Christian type of look with their stuff as well.
Yes, yeah, and I mean that's the other way to describe Rosicrucianism is esoteric Protestantism,
right.
But that's a bit weird to say nowadays, because when we look at Protestant nowadays, it's kind of like, Anglican. You think of like American evangelists, and it's like, cringe. Whereas like mysticism is more Catholic, more Orthodox. But there was a time when Catholicism was kind of overloaded with a lot of kind of bloat, with lots of corruption. And it was actually, there were these movements that were more, how shall we say, more mystically inclined, that were saying the church has gone wrong and we need to go back to the original church. And so you have these movements like the Pietists, like Jakob Boehm, I believe, comes from the Pietist movement, Quietists, the Quietists. Like they would say things like, God, he's something transcendent, but I feel God within me. And that thing that I feel within me, I also see reflected in nature. So God is in nature. And the church is like, oh, that's pagan. And the quietists had to keep quiet about it, hence why they call them quietists. And so it's like that German mysticism coming up is what you see kind of fused in. So you have this esoteric Protestantism, because when you read the manifestos, Fema Fraternitatis is kind of like, this is our deal. Freda CRC, he went to the East, he came back with Book M, he has a secret vault. When you read the Confessio, the Fema Confessio literally begins in like the first 2 paragraphs, they call the Pope the Antichrist. It's like, bam, getting straight into it. Pope, bad.
That is. Now, do you think Rosicrucianism is kind of like a reaction to the church at the time?
Yeah, it's definitely reactionary. The thing you can say about it is reactionary, and it's also a form of utopianism, because one of the things they want to do is not just regenerate the church. They want to regenerate the church, teach, magic, alchemy, Kabbalah, theurgy, but they also want to restore the laws to philosophy, which is interesting. So there's kind of this Plato Republic.
That's got to be Platonism right there, then.
Yeah, well, I mean, and this is just it. One of the guys, Johann Valentin Andre, who's usually seen as one of the writers of the manifestos, one of his books that he writes later in life is called Christianopolis, which is about a universal, like a utopia where Christians go and basically achieve enlightenment. And it's very, there's all these layers of utopianism all through kind of Rosicrucianism. It's like, we need to regenerate the world. It's, redeem the world as well. It's not just kind of be a wizard in the wizard's tower. It's like you also got to be a court wizard and do astrology and alchemy and regenerate and heal people. And,
you have to do the work. Kind of thing.
Yeah. You do the work. Exactly. The work, macrocosm and microcosm, but also inner and outer. You can't just be some simp in a cave. That's not Rosicrucianism.
Some simp in a cave. Yeah. It's like last night, I think I mentioned Tycho Brahe. That guy was doing the work. I mean, he was doing all that shit, making tinctures, healing people, taking care of people on his property. So I guess, I'm not saying it was Rosicrucian, but I'm just
service to others. It's the way of the right-hand path, right?
So yeah, I had always just assumed from the stuff that I don't know much about Rosicrucianism, very interested in it and interested in the people that have promoted it. I had always kind of looked at it just from covering other people, and I think it would probably be from like I don't know, maybe from like Pico della Mirandola and like up. I feel like around that time when like you started mixing the Kabbalah, Catholicism, and Christianity. And he started kind of getting like, a big, huge, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people started coming on to stuff. The esotericism started getting huge. And then all of a sudden, like the churches just started to start squashing it. And then I feel like Rosicrucianism popped up and they're like, what the fuck's going on? Like, so that's kind of how I looked at maybe they came to be.
Yeah. There's definitely those kind of, when you suppress something, it, what is it, pressure makes diamonds kind of thing. As you suppress something into the subconscious, it just kind of, as I like to say, it's like what we see in society is everything in the center, but everything that's rejected goes to the outside. And in the outside, it gestates. That's where all the vagabonds are, the bohemians. And then it's like everything there kind of gestates and forces its way back into the center. So there's these kind of things that become hidden. As they're hidden, they gestate, they cultivate, they grow. And these societies, Rosicrucianism, Freemasonry, and different certain attendant orders, it's almost, people say Freemasonry, but it's hard. Jesuit. Well, definitely. I mean, they started off all right, I guess. But,
but then they started,
yeah. And it's like these secret societies like Freemasonry, it's hard because there are so many attendant orders to them that aren't the really Masonic. They're just other things. It's like Freemasonry seemed to start off esoteric, but then as more members joined, it diluted. And so the esoteric members kind of invented orders to stuff more mysteries in. And that's how it kind of escalated. And I mean, that's all things. And some would have been good, some would have been bad. The earliest Rosicrucian order, the Golden Rosicrucians, the Order of the Golden Rosy Cross in, the 1700s, they were contemporaries with the Bavarian Illuminati. And there's like, Christopher McIntosh has found like pamphlets where like they fight each other. Like there's a pamphlet of the like Rosicrucian order being like, don't trust the Illuminati, they're bad, join us. And it's like there's this kind of enmity between them.
That's funny, don't trust the Illuminati.
Well, I think it was a very
public thing in society to be a part of these these, especially back then, right?
Oh yeah.
You didn't have the internet and have people.
It was definitely ubiquitous in society. I think, I'm in Australia. There's some like statistic. I'm not sure, source, trust me, bro. But there's some statistic where it's like before the 1960s, 1 in every 6 men in Australia were Freemasons. And it's like, you look back in the day in continental Europe, it's like everyone was a Freemason. It's like, which is why I don't get a lot of conspiracy theories where they kind of go, and this guy was a Freemason. Everyone was a Freemason. It's a marker that means nothing. It's like Karl Marx was a Freemason. He was a part of this specific lodge that did the Memphis Mizraim stuff. And it's like, oh, so the Bolshevik Revolution was a Masonic conspiracy. Yeah, well, like Tsar Nicholas was also a Freemason. So the White Russians were also Freemasons? What's going on? It's like, there's this, everyone was a Freemason, dog, like get over it kind of thing. I have this painful thing with conspiracy theorists.
Well, I do get it to a point for sure. One thing I wanted to ask, and this is going back a little bit, it was just you happened to mention something. Back in Germany, I think the guy was called a Landgrave. If Kessel was the last name. Does that sound familiar?
Kessel is the town where the pamphlets were published.
Yeah, there was some guy that I can't remember his name. His name popped up a few times.
Oh, Andre, Johannes Valentinus Andre.
Oh, okay. Maybe,
is that what you just mentioned?
No, there was somebody. I can't remember. I don't think that's it. The guy was the Landgrave of the area. But his name just came up a couple of times when I was covering like Rosicrucianism type stuff, and I was like, this guy's got to be involved. His name keeps coming up with all these supposed like Rosicrucian people. Oh, I can't remember the name for the life of me. I had it before when you mentioned it, and now I forgot. So yeah, it's okay.
I actually have a quick one, if you don't mind. Okay, so it's kind of a riff off what Jules actually said, which was the right-hand path. So for me, there is a contradiction. Richard, you didn't say right-hand path, so I'm not going to like charge you with deconstructing that whole argument. But for me, I'm a middle path person. So for me, I would reject a kind of utopian rebuilding of the world, because this also gets into something with like traditional Hebrew Kabbalah, like Tikkun and Tohu. But this can also be described in other ways, like Tzimtzum, and there's various terms. So, but basically, we're supposed to remake the tree in our own minds and our life in our own Malkuth. So that is a much more middle path approach. Like we remake ourselves, and through remaking ourselves, yes, that has purifying effects on the greater world. But we don't necessarily seek to build the paths for others. So I think that this is where I would differ from Rosicrucianism. So I don't know if that's a question, but maybe it is something substantive enough that either Jules or Richard can respond to.
Yeah, like, so the way I see it is, even though I say Rosicrucianism is utopianist in its essence, I also kind of agree. It's like utopia is impossible. Utopia is utopia isn't a system of government. Everyone's different. People are different. Okay, right. Not everyone's equal. And so the whole kind of thing is you have to develop yourself. And what the idea of a utopia really is a brotherhood or a fraternity of individuals who have individuated, they have reached a level of equality because they have reached a certain development within their own, as Gurdjieff would say, a level of being. There's a certain level of being that you reach. And there's a certain connection that you have with other people of a certain level, of a certain proclivity. And so it's not like we're going to start a utopia and it's going to have this economic model. Trust me, it'll work. It's never been tried before. It's like you can potentially have, any form of government is going to die because of corruption. The ones we have now that are only work despite corruption, not because of it, kind of thing. It's like there are certain. So the utopia is this structure which cannot exist with a quality of people that we have certain now, if I could say that. So it's we do this work. We work with the tree. We work with the rose in the cross. We incarnate the word. We develop ourselves, or higher being bodies, as Gurdjieff would say. And it's like there is this fraternity in that. And whether, ideally, to have this crystallize as a place in the world would be great. But there is also the idea that this country that is created is everywhere and invisible. And actually, it's at our deaths that we truly become a member in that country. So a part of how I kind of perceive this work is there's a type of immortalization where when you die, you don't go to sleep and just either, go to Sheol or get put into another body.
You're building the egregore, dude.
Yeah, there's something, there's something that is perpetual.
Also.
There's a ground that you build that your consciousness can then stand on and perpetuate itself post-death. And that beyond the gate of Saturn, beyond the gate of death is this new world where our brothers are waiting for us.
I've actually heard of this from some of the Temple of Set guys who are also very much into Gurdjieff. So there's this thing called the Uranian impulse where you kind of break free of the markers of Saturn and fly free, you could say, into Keter. So very interesting. I think you said, though, the right word, which is individuation, which is as we're doing here, like discussing these matters of consciousness, processes of consciousness, as we would say in Buddhism, processes of adamantization, to borrow something that's also very Gnostic. But yes, Vajra can also be translated as diamond thunder or adamantine. So there's something in common with all of the, Hermetic and sorceress languages, I think.
100%, 100%.
If I may, there is a book that was written about this ideal utopian world. I'm not sure if he was himself Rosicrucian, but it's interesting. Lead into the question I have. The book was The Adventures of Asplandian, obviously by a Spanish guy in 1510, published in 1510, a novel. And in this is where the word California comes from. And it was signification for this totally utopian place where all the different climates came together and all the people could do their thing in utopian society. So it's interesting that this kind of came to the New World, and there was this impetus to have this Rosicrucian West Coast thing going on. Even there is a lot of Rosicrucian history in Northern California, subtly or overtly, in the sense there's in Northern California there are the cities of Sacramento, Santa Cruz, and Santa Rosa, which make up this kind of Rosicrucian triangle, if you will. And also in San Jose, not too far from Santa Cruz particularly, there is the Rosicrucian Museum, where they've now actually, they have a huge collection of Egyptian relics and so forth, and the biggest collection on the West Coast, they say. In that sense, how do you think Rosicrucianism has transformed, as you described it as being like a German mysticism crossbreed with the Vienna persona people and so forth? I thought that was a really great way to summarize it. And so how do you think it's transformed as they've kind of integrated or claimed to have integrated, Egyptian and other ideas from other long time, past, and also maybe even more recently? Sorry if that's a super long question. Thank you, Richard.
No. Hopefully I can answer this, but this is interesting because it also goes back to those original manifestos. It's very likely that there was no order behind them, and that it was a kind of a writing group. And what Rosicrucianism is at its beginning is a meme. And as it embedded in people, they were like, this should exist. And so certain orders sprung up. And as those orders have sprung up, so you get the Order of Golden Rosicrucians, and then you get the SRIA, and then you get the Golden Dawn, and you get OTO, and you get all of these other orders, the Rosicrucian Fellowship of Max Heindel, you get the Fellowship of the Rosy Cross, completely different order by Arthur Edward Waite. You get the FRC with, Swinburne Clymer. All of these guys have their own, they add a little bit to them. You get a Mork. Harvey Spencer Lewis's Amorc. They all add their own kind of thing to it. There is something at the core of them all that you could say remains Rosicrucian, but fundamentally they do go off into different directions in their own sort of way. Like, the Golden Dawn is seen as more magical, like teaching kind of magic, whereas Amorc is seen as more mystical in its higher rung. You get initiated into Martinism, and it's more of a reintegration of being kind of thing. And it's almost like there are a lot of different things you need to do, and all the different orders have like specialized into kind of the specific ones. The Rosicrucian Fellowship is supposedly really good at teaching astrology and things like that. So they all kind of have morphed into their own kind of thing. And the Rosicrucian almost just becomes a family resemblance. A lot of them are very different. They're very, very different. But I don't know if you want to zoom in on any specific one to go into more detail, or I'm not sure if I answered your question also. But yeah, they've descended to us, a lot of these orders, and have become they've taken on their own kind of roles.
That makes sense. No, that totally answers the question. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense that they're a meme. And by that, I think actually Ronnie Podiak sent something like, they're not hierarchical, they were horizontal in their distribution of information. And I found that really striking, right? And that is really the power in such an amorphous group, if they are a group at all.
It was no, you go.
No, sorry, Richard. Well, I was just going to say to what I had said earlier, if Hall wasn't, if he wasn't a Rosicrucian, he was a Mason, right? So in these treaties that I have, he refers to Christ as his Lord, right? His Lord and Savior. And so I figured if you're going to go anywhere from Masonry into a higher level of some kind of mystery school or secret society, then he would take the Rosicrucian path. And that's just my assumption, and from me reading him, what I can gather. And also what he likes to talk about. I mean, especially when he gets into, and I will say this as well. He likes to talk about, stuff that goes all the way back to like, hopefully I say it right. Zoroaster.
Yep.
Yeah. Zoroaster, and like, and Jen probably knows, I'm sure, the Kabbalah. But I've read a lot of what he has to say, right? Everything but the actual book he or the one treatise that I have on the Kabbalah tree of life. But everything else is a lot of it's a lot of Rosicrucian thoughts. So maybe it's something you could look into further, maybe confirm that, or I don't know.
Another way you could describe Rosicrucianism, I mentioned it's like, this marriage of German mysticism and Italic Hermeticism. It's also esoteric Protestantism.
Yeah.
You can also describe it very simply as Hermetic Christianity. So some Christians, follow Thomas Aquinas, who was kind of Aristotelian. So that you have Aristotelian Christianity. Some people follow more St. Augustine, who was Platonic. So you have Platonic Christianity. Whereas the Rosicrucians, they are Hermetic Christians. You can kind of describe it like that as well.
That too, this is what I thought I've come across recently. I could be wrong. But even with Aquinas, I think there still was a few things that was like kind of by Plato that he did accept. So I just, the reason why I'm saying that again, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. I just don't think Christians realize where they come from. You know what I'm saying? That's what, So
got a question from Assyric Media right here. Mr. Ruach, what do you think about the analyzing axiality show from Pagan Revivalism and Imperium Press.
Yeah. They're good. They're good. The Axiality show. So the Pagan Revivalists enjoy the Axial Age. And the Axiality show is just that's the name they have for their own little podcast. It's right. I enjoy a lot of pagan stuff because at heart, I like to say deep down inside, I study Kabbalah, I study Rosicrucianism, I study, Gurdjieff, but my spine is Gnostic. And how I describe Gnosticism, I really hate it. It's like, oh, you're a Gnostic, so demiurges and dualism, huh? And I'm like, no. Gnosticism, what makes a Gnostic is in the word Gnostic, knower. A Christian is Christians because they believe in pistis, or the soteriological key to salvation. Soteriology being salvation, the soteriology being the study of salvation. Sorry, the soteriological key is faith in Christ, whereas for the Gnostics, it's knowledge. It's knowledge is the key to salvation. Knowing Christ or God, attaining enlightenment is the key to salvation. And so by knowing something, experiencing something, not just like, oh, we can't experience it, have faith, that's not enough for me. And so that idea of not a Gnostic being someone who knows, and you go out and you try to know, you try to experience. And I see this in Rosicrucianism. They call, they accept the Gospels, but they say you need to study the fifth Gospel, which is the book of nature. You need to study nature. And it's like, I see this in paganism. In paganism, they're trying to reclaim divinity and nature. So I have a lot of, even though modern paganism has a lot of factions and a lot of discomfort within their kind of, or like places, I have a lot of admiration for them.
I'd have to agree with you. Yeah.
One thing I did want to ask, kind of want to start going towards maybe the manifestos. But before then, with the Rosicrucians, were they like, well, I guess first, before I get into that, because of other people, again, like Michael Meyer and Robert Flood and other people that have come across, did you think that, and I think this is a big difference with people. Oh, thank you, Fred Rossi. Thank you.
Yeah, I just saw that as well.
Say,
yeah. Every time I get a good guest on this, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
$2 from Frater RC. What are your thoughts on Amorc trademarking the name and suing older Rosicrucian orders into oblivion?
Yeah, take that one, and then I'll ask you my question. Take that one first.
You're lucky to pull yours up for free, dude.
This I always find funny, and I'm always like, this is the biggest smear on Amorc. Because the thing about Amorc is they're also the biggest Rosicrucian school, and you always know when someone is a member of Amorc because they don't teach their students about other Rosicrucian schools. They're like, we're the real ones. So when you meet someone from Amorc and you go, oh, hey, what are you? And they say, oh, I'm a Rosicrucian. And then you ask, what order? They go, huh? And it's like, oh, you're Amorc. Yeah. It's like, dog. And the thing about the early Amorc is they fell into this kind of American... See, America has this weird factionalism. They was like Max Heindel went there. The FRC was there. There was like a fourth one. And then like, what is it? Amorc go there. And Amorc has this weird history where, can I just go off on a massive tangent here? I like met an Austrian guy randomly. And I was like, oh, you're Rose. And we're talking about Esotericism, Rosicrucianism. And he was like, yeah, I'm Amorc. And I was like, oh, okay. How's it on the continent? And he told me this crazy story. That like there was these continental Rosicrucians that were like hardcore, where there were people who had cities, they had faculties, like one guy could like make himself invisible and all of this kind of stuff. Amorc was originally kindergarten school for Americans. It was to get Americans into Rosicrucianism. But then World War II happened and, people get flung, buildings get burnt, libraries get burnt, people get flung into, jail cells. After World War II ended, Amorc in America started opening Rosicrucian lodges in the continent, and all of the old Rosicrucians who survived were like, hey, who are these guys? And in Austria, they mass joined like Amorc lodges, raised through the ranks and kind of took over. And so Amorc on the continent is slightly different. They're actually I don't know about now, but there was actually a time where you had all of these people talking about old stories of everyone meditating in the temple, and then one guy would open his eyes and he saw like the master at the front had turned like the top half of his body invisible by using the cloud system or something like that. And I'm like, what? You hear all these like weird stories. But Amok in America, when they came to America, they were like, we're the only Rosicrucians, and they sued other Rosicrucians, specifically the FRC, because they were like, we're the real ones. Swinburne Clymer, who was running the FRC at the time, he was just like, hey, yo, and he wrote a lot. Swinburne Clymer, for those who don't know, can I just once again? I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'm an Aquarius, okay? Swinburne Clymer, if you ever read Swinburne Clymer, this guy is the epitome of source I made it up. You'll like open a book and he'll be like, Abraham Lincoln was a Rosicrucian and he knew Eliphas Levi. And it's like, shut up, Swinburne. But here's the thing. In all regards, Swinburne Clymer, when you read his books, even though it's mythology, clearly, it gets you hyped. He's like this secret lineage and then this guy, and it's like, and then Abraham Lincoln, and it gets you hyped. And actually, it's good. It's actually good. I actually forgive Swinburne Clymer for like telling tall tales.
But because he did it good, right? You're like,
yeah,
fuck.
Reading his works, even though it's like completely outrageous, it's hype. It's actually Rosicrucian. He's a Rosicrucian hype man, and because he had because he had that personality, he was just like, who are these guys? And he wrote all of this polemic stuff against Amok, and then Amok was like, oh, excuse me, and then they sued the FRC and took them to court. And the whole end of that story is Swinburne was actually able to prove that his order predated Amok in America. And so it got like thrown out of court, and it was this whole kind of malarkey, but they've never quite come to terms with it. And one of the things is as well, Amok kept going and is like super big, and the FRC is almost unknown. It's like got some little lodges still active in Pennsylvania, and that's all I know about it still. They still like publish Swinburne stuff, but it's like, what? So they're this minor order now in modern times, and Amok is still everywhere, which I find very ironic. But Amok is renowned for doing that. Like, you know how I said, there was actually 6 Rosicrucian manifestos? For whatever reason, the first 3, the Fama Fraternitatis, the Fama Confessio, and the Alchemical Wedding, were the only ones translated out of Latin a lot. And so you see like Rosicrucian trilogies of just these 3 manifestos, but you never get like the other ones out of Latin. And Amok, when they came around, they were so disconnected from their own current. They were just like, we have written the 4th manifesto, and there's actually a 4th manifesto that Amok wrote, because they just didn't even know their own sources. So they've made up like their own 4th manifesto when one already exists. Like, anyway, so I'm not trying to be an Amok hater, but it's like, they think they're so good, and all the other Rosicrucian lodges look at them and just like, dog, bruh. Anyway, so that was a huge rant there. But,
no, that's good. That's good.
I've got a quick one, if it's okay, Nick.
Yeah,
I just want to respond to the axialist question, because Carl Jaspers, who is considered widely to be the father of the axialist sort of theory on religion, he actually said that Buddhism was the true axial age religion. So I know I've made pagans cry many times in the past and maybe sometime in the future, but I have cooled off a lot about my pagan hatred. But I just want to say that the true axial age religion is Dharma. Thank you.
Base.
What is up, Frat RC? How are you?
Hey everyone, good to see you. This is a surprise, but hey Richard, I've been enjoying your talk very much, man. I sent a super chat because I had a question, and then you kept talking, and I was like, I have another question, and at the same moment they invited me on. So thank you everyone for having me. Though in the sign-on process, I missed the last few things that were said, so I can't jump in on them. But when I get up to pace, I do have a couple questions.
Nice. Oh, thank you for jumping on, man. I'm sure you could definitely add to this topic as well.
Well, they pertain to what you were saying, but then I had to do the quick little setup here, right? And I couldn't even get the green screen up, so that you get my Llewellyn calendar, which is ridiculous. What is Llewellyn doing? This is Aquarius January. That's Llewellyn art. What is that? That's like 80s cocaine art. But I love to support Llewellyn.
Is that 1970 Saint Germain? What is that?
And that's the best picture on it. that white-haired white guy that says Aquarius and spray paint behind him. It's like
Bruh.
ketamine and coke, yes, please. It's I miss the mythicism and the fairies and the poetry and the, there's all these groovy new age artists, and I don't know what Llewellyn has done with their calendar this year. Guys, come on.
Oh man. Frado, before I ask him more questions, was there anything you did want to add to something that was talked about?
Yeah, well, my controversial super tweet there was whatever. What do you think? This is my I prefer my other question, but this has to be asked. What do you think on Amorc copywriting, trademarking the name Rosicrucian Order and then suing older Rosicrucian orders into oblivion?
Yeah, we just talked about it.
Oh yeah, no, I did that.
I must have been setting up the mic.
Oh no, yeah, I did this huge rant. I did a huge rant on that.
God bless you.
Yeah, he definitely put a battery in his back.
Then let's talk about Christianity, because that's less controversial. Somehow.
Here we go.
Do you see the Rosicrucians as a Christian group?
How shall we define Christ?
Well, we're defining Christian, not Christ. So
okay. As a Christian order, no, not at all.
Yeah, because in the family, it has people of different religions, right? That's the problem. It's hard to say it's a Christian thing. Yeah,
it's completely
you're
blasphemous.
The fama.
Completely heretical.
Yeah,
but I mean, they still have flavors of incarnating the word. Like, are we going to say Rudolf Steiner is a Christian, where he demotes the Christ to like a kind of a logoic thing that you can incarnate? Like, if
anyone can be a Christian, man.
If Rudolf Steiner is a Christian, then Rosicrucians are still Christian.
Yeah, but the point is, there's non-Christians in the fama listed as brethren of CRC. Therefore, yes. at worst, it's an interfaith community.
Yes, that's well, I mean, that's interesting. We could go into a kind of a logos spermaticos and be like, the logos dropped seeds into all of the traditions in the world. So all traditions have something of the truth in them, of the logos in them. And so as Rosicrucians, we should respect all traditions and allow them in and treat them as brothers, kind of thing. But I don't know if that's a cop-out.
You had me at sperm. Amen.
No, sorry, logos spermaticos is the term of the...
Oh, no, I know. I'm just having fun. It's Friday evening.
So, basically, the logos just money shot all over the world, and now we're in the remnants of that, and because of that, we all share in the sperm, and it's all about sex, man. It's all about
is that
sex.
what that smell
is? All about
dicks
and
demons.
demons.
To you by Amorc. This rant was sponsored by Amorc. Yeah, I was initiated into Amorc when I was like 11, 12, and then went down there when I was 14 and got adult membership at 15. Oh. And then realized that it was just still a bit watered down, to say the least. Yep. But hey, I love their whole San Jose setup. Have you been there?
No. I'm trapped in Australia.
Impressive. Oh, well, sorry. I'm trapped in Canada. It's not much better.
Oh God, dude, I'm sorry.
That was funny.
Y'all's truck
but at least we're all not in England.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting close. It's getting close there, but who knows? Yeah,
we're on our way.
If I keep talking about sperm, we'll see. Well,
those were my two questions about. Yeah, exactly. Dear Lord, you guys are mad people. I love it. Those were my two questions. I'm sure I'll have more, but I'd love to hear you talk more, because this is my subject.
Yeah. So sperm is the Christ, and Christ is the mediator between man and God. So basically, through the transmutation of our sperm, alchemically, of course.
Let's go. Dude.
We achieve the rose and the cross. You know what I'm saying? That's what
I do. I do.
End the stream.
As a celibate clergyman, I know what you're saying.
Thank you, Jude. Thank you for still being here, Jude.
Yeah, we have a lady.
No, it's all right. She's fucking dying over here.
Yeah, she
was in the OTO, so I mean, she's got I'm sure she's got thick skin.
She's heard that before.
Yeah, she's seen that before.
Don't forget.
Yeah, she's been through a Gnostic mass. She knows what's up.
Yeah. One thing I did want to ask, only because again, I was referring back to other people, like I mentioned, Michael Meyer, Robert Flood. very much like polymaths. Do you think a lot of the Rosicrucians prior, or people who kind of helped form those manifestos, might have been like polymaths themselves?
Yeah, and this is something else I'm quite passionate about, because, like, you could say, those manifestos came out of supposedly they came out of the University of Tübingen, the Tübingen Circle, which generation later produced Schelling and Hegel and Fichte and German idealism. So German idealism has a weird Rosicrucian link, and Hegel read frickin' Jakob Boehme and all of that kind of stuff, or Jakob, or however you pronounce it.
Böhme.
It's interesting.
Jakob Böhme.
Jakob Böhme. And
Böhme
so
ist
it's
die
all
genau richtige Weg.
Ich will leidenschaftlichen Sex haben. Now,
Das
the
ist
whole
sehr schlecht.
Now, and so the whole thing is, with philosophy is a broad umbrella term. They want to regenerate philosophy. Philosophy includes metaphysics, ontology, epistemology, how we know things, ethics. Politic comes out of that. So, you have your metaphysic, you have your ontological backbone of how you think the world works. If you're a materialist, it's materialism is your ontology. If you're an idealist, you think spirit or mind is the backbone to all creation, or what's primary. Epistemology is, what's your limit? What's the limit of knowledge? Immanuel Kant famously closing the doors to the noumenal world, even though he was an idealist. Unforgivable. And then you have your ethos, your ethics, how you act in the world, and that can be expanded out. How you act in the world can be expanded out, how you treat other people, how other people should be organized into a politic. And then, of course, you have aesthetics, and all of those things in philosophy should be interconnected. So, you have Schopenhauer with his metaphysics of the world as will and representation. So an artist always mixes his will into his art. Art is a combination. It is a representation of the artist's will, which is why Schopenhauer says music is the highest form of art, because there is no representation for music. It's just pure will, just flowing there in flux. And so you have you have this idea of philosophy as these 5 things. It's a very generalist things, and science is actually something below philosophy. Science is downstream from philosophy. But what's higher than philosophy? What's higher than philosophy is literature. Great literature, like Dostoevsky, isn't necessarily a philosopher, but philosophers read him and rave about him. Literature is higher than philosophy. Literature, folk tales, fables, mythology. And here's the thing. What do we call that? We call that logos. We call that prose. And when Heraclitus talks about prose, talks about logos, he says there's 2 forms of logos. There's prose, which is walking logos, and then there's dancing logos, or poetry. So what's better, to walk or to dance? Poetry is higher than literature. And poetry itself used to be sung. What's before the philosophers, before Plato, we have Pythagoras. Before Pythagoras, who does he look to? Orpheus. What was Orpheus? The lyre player, musician, a poet. Poems, hymns, music. Music is the highest form. And then we have Schopenhauer saying that about music. Music is just pure will. We have Michael Meyer introducing, music into his alchemy system. We have Gurdjieff introducing music once again into his cosmology. It's like, to be a polymath is to actually, to read the book of nature, as the Rosicrucians say. That's a part of it. This is a part of it. It's not a lock yourself into a cave and just focus on the microcosm. Engaging with the macro. People who say, oh, all you need is within you. Wrong. New Age slop. Engage with the world. That's my thesis. Case closed.
I want to ask you something real quick about the poetry, just real quick. I don't want to go on too much, but some of that I even remember going back and noticing. I don't know, it might have even been with, I don't know if it was Myers or Flood or somebody, but started coming across hexameter and realizing a lot of, like, even the oracles of Delphi. Unless it was spoken in hexameter or pentameter, one of those 2, they weren't considering it correct. So I wanted his poetry even a way of kind of putting out stuff in that style.
Yes, because the whole thing with poetry is it manipulates words as tools, not as words as meaning. So an example I'll use of this is, imagine you're a university student and I'm your professor, and you come to me and you give me an essay, and I read it and I look at you and I say, the punctuation's good. What have I done? I've congratulated you. Literally, I've congratulated you. But what I've used words. What it means is good job. But what I've actually said is something so offensive that if I actually said, oh, it's a crap essay, that wouldn't have hurt you as much as if I said, oh, the punctuation's good. Poetry can do this, where science, the goddess of science, can take us to the house of truth, but only the goddess of poetry can take us and dance throughout the halls of truth. It's like poetry bends words and actually uses them as signs and points beyond them.
I like that.
I think Michael Meyer even says, like, if you want to study alchemy, you learn poetry first, then you'll learn the language of the birds through poetry or something like that.
The Eddas is a great, a great example of that. If you read the Poetic Eddas, it's beautiful.
Nice. All right. So did you want to get into manifestos? I think the other question I had was, there people prior to those manifestos coming out, was there like an idea of Rosicrucianism kind of floating around already, or?
I mean, so here's the thing. It's like Rosicrucianism is a label that those manifesto makers kind of settled on. But before that, there was something going on in Europe. I think there's been like some guys in the Pan-Sophism movement, and it's Pan-Sophie. I'm going to say it's Pan-Soph, spoiler alert. But like those guys did a lot of work. And one of the things they did was one idea that came up was Heinrich Agrippa a Rosicrucian? And when diving into him and trying to find out that, they found out that Heinrich Agrippa knew all of these people. There are all of these diary notes or letters where he's like, hey, can you fund me? Hey, can I get there? And you look at him going across Europe, and he's always out of money, but he seems to arrive in a place and be sorted out and be funded. And it's like, it seems to be that Heinrich Agrippa was a member of a secret group that remains unnamed, but it's like seems to be, he's pre-Rosicrucian, so it wouldn't have been called that. So there seems to be some group that was Pan-Sophic in the West that may have used the rose and cross as a symbol, as well as, hey, let's not discard masonry, the compass and the circle as a sign as well for it. But there does seem to be something there. We just can't really label it.
Thank you. Friday, was there anything that you wanted to contribute, ask, or
John D. Dame Francis Yates, the Rosicrucian Enlightenment. There's been professors and academics coming out and saying that they actually think Yates was right.
Nice.
Dr. Terry Burns at my own Enochian conferences has said this now, and apparently there's others as well. It does seem like, well, obviously we have the Monas Hieroglyphica of John Dee on the Chemical Wedding manifesto, right? So there's obviously an influence. No one would debate there's an influence. But what do you think of the chances of John Dee and other maybe members of the School of Night in Elizabethan England seeding the Rosicrucian ethos around Europe in their travels? And again, it's so weird because none of this correlates directly to the emergence. But then you think about, well, that's normal. We lose a lot of information over time. Not much is written down. Even Dee's diaries have to be read through a very nuanced hermeneutic lens to really, get at the truth. I mean, so many things to be said about it. That's why we do conferences on it. It's lots. We're just scratching the surface, people. We haven't figured it all out. Yeah. So yeah, have you looked at much at the John Dee connection? Have you read the Rosicrucian Enlightenment? I think that theory, again, is interesting, as well as the School of Night.
Yeah, I just started reading that book actually. So I'm just going through it. But it's like,
so you have to read it, then you have to read all the papers debunking it, and then you need to read it again. So you're in for a journey, bro.
Bruh, nah. Oh god, there's so much stuff to read. I weep. I look at my bookshelf and I weep.
Ronnie Pontiac crushing it with his new book. I just sent him an invitation to our conference. Have you seen his new book?
No, what is it called?
Oh God, well, what's the actual title? It's the big new book on Rosicrucianism, and he was like the secretary or assistant to Manly P. Hall, or yeah. And
if you want to check out a good episode, he's on the Occult Rejects.
He was.
He came on for that book months ago. But months ago,
he came on to that. I'm pretty sure, didn't he?
Yeah, but
I
he
still
that was
haven't been able to.
He came on to that book already. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for it to show up and be available in Canada. I got the audiobook and I listened to him on Aeon Byte Gnostic Radio last night. It was just
Nice.
fucking amazing. I mean,
Nice.
anyone coming out
Shout
of
out Aeon
Manly
Byte.
P. Hall's lineage is going to know their shit. Plus, he's a musician, which just adds to what you were saying earlier about poetry and Kant and art being the only thing that transcends reason and emotion. Yeah, beautiful stuff, man.
Absolutely.
The title is The Rosicrucian Counterculture.
Yeah.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
so
was pretty impressive stuff he covered on the
I have
show.
I have a few.
Who's
I think a
Shane Smith?
few questions.
I don't
or a
know.
couple
I don't
questions.
know. From that account, I don't think that's probably not a bad thing. Oh, I did mention earlier today because I
Not
even had
knowing
an
makes me feel old.
No, I had an issue with the earlier show today with like just somebody just talking dumb shit. And I did mention even the people that I had the other night when they were busting your balls, those aren't even normal people in my chat. They're coming from somewhere else.
I got
So-
some messages from people telling me where they probably came from. It's no surprise.
Yeah, no, but
You
it
know,
has
as a-
it's somebody else trolling me for other reasons. I think or trolling you. So yeah. Sorry about that.
Par
But
for the course.
yeah, fuck them. All right. So do you want to get into? Would you mind? Is that putting you? Well, maybe between both of you, so I don't have to worry about it. I would like to try to maybe touch on the manifestos a little bit.
I was going to ask him a couple questions, but we can wait towards the
no,
end.
no,
I was
no,
kind of
no.
waiting more towards the end because I work 10 hours and then I have an hour in between that and home, and so I need a minute to kind of get my head on right. So
Okay.
not to talk too much through the beginning of the show, but I can't help myself sometimes. So have you seen the insignia for the Lutheran Church? Like the whole, does that come from the Rosicrucians? Like, was Martin Luther, was he a Rosicrucian? Because it would make sense. And I don't think people put it together because that's kind of the stuff that's like, it's in our face, but no one really realizes it because no one's doing the research on Rosicrucians and being like, well, was this guy? Or they trust him completely.
I've had the exact same thought, and I don't know.
Okay. Also,
Very close.
Georgia Guidestones. What's your
Yeah.
when it says RC Christian, that being at the very bottom of the whole thing with the get the population down to 500,000 and like the 10 Commandment kind of thing. And then it had all of the cosmological little scopes you could look through the holes in the rocks and stuff. That was pretty cool.
That's another one. I don't know.
And
Like
they blew it up.
that, I learned about that ages ago, and then I vaguely looked into it, and what I looked into said some guy in a morgue put them up, and then I
Okay,
never
that was-
looked into it again.
Those are Mort guys, man.
And then I never looked into it again, and then they got blown up and destroyed. And so I haven't thought about them in years. So when you brought that up, I was like, oh.
You think that was another Rosicrucian
yeah.
order that was like, fuck you, and blew up their fucking Georgia Guidestones? Like,
Dude,
yeah,
I
fuck
thought
you, and
they
you
were
lost.
cool. I'd like to go see him now and take my kids,
I mean, to talk about
look
like
what the Rosicrucians did, honey.
with like a morgue, apparently they have like a kick-ass Rosicrucian museum in like their main center. Like it's actually good. They have like an alchemy museum or something.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
I have
Apparently it's
rolls
good.
and rolls
Apparently
of
it's
film
good.
from it. Yeah, I went there in '96.
Where is it?
Oh, nice. Yeah, where is
It's
it?
in San Jose, and like I have tons of great photos. I'll you know what? I'll dig them up and I'll post them on my Instagram on Hermetic Podcast Instagram. I'll just post all of my Amorc photos like from there. I went there in '96. It was awesome. The museum's amazing. There was gorgeous naked women doing photo shoots by the fountain in Egyptian headdresses, and as a 16-year-old, that was like, giddy up. Yeah,
Damn.
let's go.
Damn,
Like,
I would have joined on the spot.
And so I was there. My mom drove me down with my best friend and sister for summer vacation because I was so disheartened by the Junior Order of Torchbearers information, which is what they give to everyone below 18. And we had a local Rosicrucian temple, and my mom was very good friends, the best friends with all the big wigs there and older people there. And I would go there for astrology lectures, all from like age 12 to like till 16 when I joined the Golden Dawn, 15. And I stopped going to Amorc so much. But they had a temple, and I wanted to be initiated, but like you have to be an adult. And so I was like, well, no, this is by the age of 14. It was a joke. So they said I could show up and be tested there in person. So we drove all the way down to Amorc. And the head honcho took me into the back room and gave me all these tests of knowledge and even some meditative psych stuff. But I've been doing TM since I was 7 and been initiated into yoga multiple times in the Maharishi cult I grew up in. So yeah, they let me in and gave me an adult card and gave me, then the adult monographs arrived and I was like, this is bullshit. And I joined the Golden Dawn.
I've heard stories of those monographs. Was
It was probably good for the 30s or 40s or whatever.
I think someone once said they have like a monograph on Kabbalah, and if you go on Amazon and randomly buy a book, it's better than whatever they have in that monograph.
I mean, with all the money they have, you'd think they would be funding cutting edge scholarship and, like, you know, provide an avenue for all these PhDs to publish their books academically through them instead of Brill, and bring the price down and like do all human, like there's just no semblance of Rosicrucianism that I see anywhere in Amorc, other than the fact that they have venues that bring people together with sincere interest.
I feel like there was like a lot of bureaucracy, because wasn't like Frater Albertus a member and he kind of got forced out?
Well, but now we have, like, his tradition became brilliant and wonderful, and now we have people like, you know, Brian Cotnoir, crushing it in the alchemy world. I mean, two books better than all of the alchemical literature the last 200 years combined in 2 little paperbacks. So Brian Cotnoir has just changed the game. I don't even talk about alchemy anymore. I just tell people to read these books, though I'm giving a 2-hour lecture on alchemy tomorrow to my students. So you got to pay the bills.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, nice.
It reminds me, Rosicrucianism is very much like this Socratic school versus the sophistry of the old when it started, and same continues now with the Amorc. They're more sophist and the rest are more Socratic. There's this, you know, kind of element there. I wonder what you guys think about that.
I think bureaucracy definitely plagues a lot of the orders. And so a lot of them just kind of, very much like Masonry, it's just kind of old guys who like to eat sandwiches and talk about stuff. But it seems the whole hope is the younger generation. We're in a hermetic renaissance right now. And so there's this younger generation flowing in and a lot of new things are happening. So hopefully when the old heads die, we'll take control. We'll bring it back.
See, I'm not trying to sound like a dick, and I know it sounds like a creepy thing, but I have kind of tried to make that point on this show. You know, a lot of the people kind of, I don't know, the old heads aren't going to be here that long. You know, there's a chance to kind of direct this in a different way by the people that are, you know, starting to, you know, help now. I don't know. You know what I'm getting at. It's just that, you know, aeons are going to change. You can look at it that way, you know.
Dinosaurs go extinct, dude.
Basis of orders that are no longer going to be here. Who's going to be your mouthpiece out in the public trying to say things with? Think about that. That shit's going to change in the next 20 years for a lot of groups.
Aeon of the daughter. Let's fucking go.
Fucking go.
Yeah.
Well, we've already lost Jake Stratton Kent, you know, and then we have all these other elders like Tony Fuller, Stephen Skinner, Joseph Peterson, right? It's hard to imagine the world, like the Golden Dawn world, is going to be traumatized by the loss of Dr. Fuller. I mean, most of you probably I don't think you've ever heard of him. Most people haven't heard of him, but if you're in the GD land, it's all like, oh, what happened to the GD tradition? It's broken. It's like, no, you just haven't heard of this guy. And you can find him now because his dissertation was published, and it's called Anglo-Catholic Clergy in the Golden Dawn. And it's published by a buddy of mine in Scotland who I was in the GD with 25 years ago. And he got Tony to agree to publish it. And it's available in beautiful edition that costs like $1,000 and a standard hardcover for $100.
You got to drop these books in the chat, man. I want to buy them.
Well, just talk to me, man. I'm on Instagram.
Yeah. I'll definitely send you a message.
I'm everywhere. God. So, you know, yeah, with the elders going, I think it's really interesting you guys brought that up, because it's terrifying to me, the idea of me being one of the oldest, right? Like, I don't want to be that. That's so lonely. Like, there's no one left to talk to who's got 5, 10, 20 years experience on me. Are you kidding me? We're fucked. So yeah, let's let's give reverence to our elders and try and get them to do as much as we can. That's why I'm doing all these conferences and workshops and retreats and like putting my own money into it, because let's get these people together. Let's or if they don't have time, let's just support their work as best we can, like Steven Skinner does and Lon Milo. They don't have time to come in person to an event or the health, so like I'm doing what I can. Support the people you believe in.
Yeah, I mean, see, like, exactly. I mean, I've said it before. Lon Milo's getting old. We already lost Wasserman. There's other people that from the OTO, like Fred Oz, he's obsolete. I mean, at least I think he is. I don't know. There's just a lot of people that aren't, so we got Mavis Kaczynski, his girlfriend, one or two, Marco Visconti. Like, I mean, come on. What do you really got as a face for Thelema? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, I'm keeping it real, man. I'm not knocking Mavis or Richard, but some of the other ones out there really ain't got much to offer anybody going forward. And I'm just keeping it real. It may sound like an asshole, but whatever. Back to Rosicrucianism. The manifestos. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah.
Would you? Yeah. All right. I wasn't sure.
I mean, off the top of my head, the only thing I can mention that I didn't mention before is the main one. I think the main one to read would definitely be the Alchemical Wedding. It's hard because the Fraternitatis is where you get a lot of meat of like him going on a specific journey, and he goes to these specific places and he does a circuit and arrives back in Germany. And that's also where you get the whole Paracelsus connection, because in the vault of CRC, it says that they've kept the books of Paracelsus. And I think he says other books as well, but specifically the works of Paracelsus. And he says, if ever all of the members of the Rosicrucian order were to die, if someone was to find this vault and read these works, you could rejuvenate the entire order. So there's Paracelsus is kind of given a pass, like Paracelsus important. And so alchemy-wise, it seems to be this Paracelsus, which is interesting because Frater Albertus kind of rejuvenates the big regenerator of the Paracelsian movement in modern times. And so that's an important one. But the one that I find really interesting, because as I mentioned before, talking about poetry, talking about myth and literature, the Alchemical Wedding of Christian Rosenkranz is very interesting, because that is in a sense mythic, and it uses symbols, and so there's something that can connect to our consciousness there. And so it's this old wizened mystic who is awoke in his dreams, I believe, like there's this feminine figure, a Sophia, if you will, a feminine. It's not he's initiated, or he's sent on his quest by this female figure. It's very interesting. And then as he moves on, he goes on this journey, and he goes through certain trials. There's even a bit where the paths diverge, and it's almost like there are these different elements that he has to kind of choose, and you don't actually quite know which element he takes, because as he's pondering his path, he's like looking upwards as he's walking, and he forgets, like he doesn't know which way he goes. But he eventually reaches this castle, and there's these beautiful symbols of, like, when he gets there, there are all of these other people there to attend the wedding. And the first test that they go through at the wedding, even before the wedding, is they have to stand on these scales. And I need to describe this properly. If you stand on the scale and you sink, so this is you. If you sink, then you're allowed in. So you need to be heavy. And everyone, and like the people who go onto the scale, there's like all these people kind of going into the scales, and the scales tilt and like throw them off. They're too light. So it's this, and there's this very interesting symbol. Like one guy comes up with a bunch of books because he thinks that will weigh him down. And when he hops on the scales and they like release the latch, he's like almost catapulted off. So it's this thing of like learning. All of this book learning can only get you so far, but are you kind of worthy? And then and there's this interesting thing, because when the adherents, when the invitees arrive, there's this mass of them, and they're kind of too afraid to go on. And there's one guy who's kind of courageous enough to say, like, I want to go, I'll go on first. And he just loses. He doesn't quite tip the scales, but it's like he's on the edge. And it's very interesting. Christian Rosicrucianism, he's the last one to go on. And when he goes on, he's so heavy that they even get like 3 guys on the other side, and it's still too heavy. Like, he's still too heavy. Like, so he's so heavy that the actual like arbitrator goes, "You're so heavy, you can choose to bring someone else with you." And there's he and Christian Rosenkreuz turns around. That guy who went first, the courageous guy, he was like, you didn't quite make it, but I want to bring you in with me. And so there's this thing of like in the Rosicrucian path, there's this brotherhood, there's this grace working together. Even if you're not quite enough, someone else's efforts can fill in what's missing. We kind of work together, we get through, and then it kind of goes through and becomes psychedelic, and there are automatons everywhere, and then like there's the king and the queen, and they get cut up, and he gets taken through, and you see Venus in a bedroom. It's interesting that you see Venus. There's what is it? The symbol of Venus is like nature. And then all of these boats go to this tower in the middle of a lake, and the tower has like these different stages of alchemy as they go up, but there's a hidden floor right at the top which no one knows about, and Rosenkreuz is allowed into that tower, and he sees the false mysteries below, and then him and a few select others are allowed to place the limbs back together of the kind of cut up royalty so that they can be regenerated into this alchemical machine almost. It's almost sci-fi. There's lots of different translations of the alchemical wedding, but there's one by a guy called John Crowley, and he does a really good translation, and he not only does that, but that book also has illustrations. And who he got to illustrate it, there's someone who's like, the illustrator is related to Robert Flood. So it's like Robert Flood was their great grand uncle, and he got them to like illustrate that. So the John Crowley version of the alchemical wedding is actually really good. But he points out in one of his footnotes that there's this almost sci-fi element to the Rosicrucians. There's this automaton kind, automatons kind of robots around, and like astronomical devices. That's a part of the Rosicrucian aesthetic, which you see in, there's a bit in like Manly P. Hall, now that I'm thinking about it. In the Secret Teachings of All Ages, there's one chapter, so I'm going off tangent here. There's one chapter where where Manly P. Hall is talking about fire that burns forever. And he talks about how in tombs, archaeologists would open up the tombs, and there'd be the eternal flame. The eternal flame. There'd be a glass thing with like a candle that's been burning in it for hundreds and hundreds of years. And he gives one story where in England, there's a tomb that was opened up, and some guys went in, and there was an ever-burning kind of fire up there. But when they stepped on like a panel on the floor, it activated an automaton sitting on a throne that stood up and broke the glass vessel. And because it was an automaton, they were like, this guy's a Rosicrucian. And I'm like, that's an interesting thing to say. It's the fact that there was a working automaton in there that like made it Rosicrucian to those guys. So there's an aesthetic.
Magnus have one in the 1100s supposedly.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
Didn't even Thomas Aquinas in the 1100s have one?
Yeah, well,
no. Thomas Aquinas broke Albertus Magnus's, I think.
Yes, that is the Catholic story.
Yeah,
that's in the hagiography, the Saint hagiography. Yeah.
And I mean, to talk about that, there's like it's once again, there's this Christian connection always coming back. To talk about the Fourth Rosicrucian Manifesto, just reminding me, at the end of the Fourth Rosicrucian Manifesto, they basically say, if you read all of the works of Thomas à Kempis, you're half a Rosicrucian, which is interesting. So Thomas à Kempis, the Catholic mystic.
I heard every word you said. I was just, because people were very curious in the chat, and I appreciate that. I sent one of the book titles. Yeah, hearing your description of all that was such a treat. Thank you. It's no problem. It's one of my favorite topics. I'm honored to be on the stream. But for people who are interested, these are sort of the best 3 books, in my opinion, you can get. First, the newest translation of the Manifestos by Godwin, McIntosh, and
well, that's John
other
Dee's
people like Godwin. Yeah, well, so that's, where does Rosicrucianism come from? I don't know. Maybe the Hermetic Christianity of John Dee, Reuchlin, Agrippa, all those cats.
Reuchlin, another good one.
And then there is, again, he was a professor in the school where I was a doctoral student under Nicholas Goodrick Clark, but I never got to meet him, Christopher McIntosh. His book, The Rosicrucians, is your best survey. These, you'll notice, they're all thin books. But as Dr. Sledge pointed out today on his Esoterica channel, the best texts historically are not necessarily huge and large. So size is word count, view count, page number is not always the test. And then I actually just got this. This is a different translation of The Chemical Wedding. Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosenkreutz, translated by Jocelyn Godwin with an introduction by the one and only Adam McLean, who's just donated his entire alchemical library to Boleskine Manor, revamped.
Really?
And ready for the world to come. The occult revolution is just kicking off, motherfuckers, and it's on YouTube, so it's highly televised. But this is Jocelyn Godwin, Adam McLean's commentary and translation. I've never read it. I just got it because for some reason I just didn't, and so I'm excited to dive in. Your story is so apropos because I was just about to reread the whole thing in a new translation. And it's ironic because I actually got to have lunch with Jocelyn Godwin at the ASC in 2004. 2004, I was at the first annual general meeting of the Society of the Study of Esotericism, which is the American Academic Society. And that's where I went to be interviewed for my PhD program in esotericism with Nicholas Goodrick Clark. And he was moving from Wales, Lampeter to Exeter at the time. This is 2004. So yeah, I was sitting. I borrowed money and scraped money together to fly out there to the East Lansing, Michigan, for the conference, and I had no money for a hotel, so I was just gonna all night diner it, as a 24-year-old grad student, and I was sitting in the cafe or in the bar, and Jocelyn Godwin and some other professors were talking with me and talking to other people, and then they invited me to lunch, and I sat down with what I would find out are some like 3, 5, 6 of the greatest academic esoteric scholars. I just had nothing to ask them really, except just listened and have been studying their work ever since. So those are my recommendations for serious diving. I don't know what recommendations you have for people, but
I got the Jocelyn Goodwin translation, and I think he's fantastic. The only one, it was just my personal favorite for the Alchemical Wedding was that John Crowley one, and the fourth manifesto is newly translated. You can get it from Ouroboros Press. That was where I got the very small pamphlet. So shout out to Ouroboros Press. They did a really good job on the fourth manifesto.
What do they call it?
It's called, on the spot here, it's called The Mirror and the something, Mirror of the Soul or something like that. Actually, let me look it up.
Right. Yeah, I can't order. They don't ship to Canada, unfortunately. Even though, ironically, their books are produced in Canada.
Oh,
that is
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
There was a comment in the chat. I was going to ask you guys your opinion on this. Somebody is saying that the Rosicrucians came from the Knights Templar. Wait, was that what they said in there?
Well, that's the mythology.
Back to Templars. Oh, okay.
But I think it's anachronistic at best. I mean, the Freemasons were around before the Rosicrucians. First Freemasonic temple opened in Scotland, Lodge Zero, in 1495 or something like that. And so John Dee's 100 years later. Yeah, I have a deep dive with Lenny Peterson on the first Freemasonic thing. It's a 6.5-hour podcast we did on my channel. It's wild. After 3 hours, we opened the scotch and just kept going. And again, he's the publisher of Tony Fuller and a bunch of other amazing manuscripts on alchemy. And he's a true master mason and magician, if ever there were one, and an old friend. So check out Lenny Peterson and Hermetic Science Enterprises. Check it out. Like, a lot of people doing amazing work, and so.
I tried to put the link there.
The first Masonic lodge is 1495 or something, and then it existed all throughout Dee's time, but just in a very limited capacity, I think is the deal. That's why it didn't really get popular, and why most books consider it to have started in the 18th century or late 17th century. But really it started in the 15th century, which is that's still crazy. Right, that's still crazy and not what most people know. But I think that suggests how there may be a some sort of valid or at least cultural link to the Knights Templars, because Freemasonry, germinated 200 years before most books think it did. And you can see this by going to Lodge Zero in Scotland, right? Their record keeping is amazing. I mean, if the Masons aren't Rosicrucians, at least they certainly are responsible for keeping it alive. I think it's safe to argue.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I would say so.
That was my point earlier with Hall using so much of the Rosicrucian thought in his treatise, in his multiple treaties. It's just what you were saying. The smallest ones are, kind of what you'll get the most information out of.
So I think I like that double posted. I just put in chat the name of the fourth manifesto is the Mirror of Wisdom of the Rosy Cross.
Oh yeah. That posted I think on like a few channels. Yeah.
Okay.
Mine and his. Yeah. It's okay. Oh, that's good.
Do you think Nostradamus's prophecy was pointing to the Rosicrucians?
I actually have never read Nostradamus, so that's
he has a particular prophecy that seems to point to them, like written 100 years earlier, about a group of people emerging from the mountains of northern Germany.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Actually, I guarantee I read it in one of these books, so I might find the exact quote. Go ahead.
I mean, that's kind of interesting. Then you think of like Franz Hartmann going into the mountains and getting initiated into Rosicrucianism.
Franz fucking Hartmann, another guy people need to pay more attention to.
Yes.
William Wynne Westcott praised him vastly, and he was one of the founders of the OTO. Hartmann, a medical doctor and Rosicrucian. I audiobooked his whole book, Magic, White, and Black, on my podcast. The whole audiobook is podcasted.
Sorry, I just had a quick point for Richard. I saw the title of the book he placed in the chat. It's very interesting to me because in Buddhism, we have a concept called Adarsha Yana, which it means the mirror-like wisdom. So there is absolutely like a kind of throughway in the way that people perceive that primordial ground. I think Richard even kind of referenced it maybe an hour ago, but he definitely referred to it as a kind of like place where wisdom is both free and empty. So I think there's I'm an axialist, I'm not a perennialist, but I think there's a perennial idea there.
Oh, definitely 100%. I was gonna Hey, was it Freda RC? You did the Magic, White, and Black, right? Can I ask you something?
That's awesome.
In one of the footnotes, this is actually from ages ago, so I'm not sure if you remember this. In one of the footnotes in Franz Hartmann's Magic, White, and Black, he talks about. There's a line where he's talking about something, and then in the footnote he's like, "And I knew a guy called Prestel." And he says this guy had like magic powers and once got accosted by highwaymen and was able to like project an illusion of himself and run away. But then that's like the random story. But to that, he says, and Prestel never attained to the great work because he could never find a female pure enough to do a certain alchemical working. And when I read that, I was like, dog, hold up. What? Franz Hartmann dropping some tantric stuff in, but I've asked people this and they're like, oh no, that's just a working with nature. The female is the working with nature. And I'm like, but if it's just a working with nature, then why didn't he just do it? Like, why was he waiting for a female who was pure enough to do an alchemical working with? Like,
that's Tantra.
What's your take on that? What's your take? If you remember.
I mean, the obvious answer is he couldn't procreate.
Oh, so maybe he was like sterile. He was just a bit too old.
So we got to remember that sex, there was much more people that didn't go through their lives with sex because, of the mores and laws even of life. So there was a lot of people who just never coupled. And that could be, I'm not saying that's the answer to this. I think it's probably a reference to some magical act that the early OTO was experimenting with in terms of, well, this again, it does go back to John Dee, and even before that, it goes back to ancient texts like the writings found in Zosimos and the Codex Marcellionus, with the myth of Isis and Osiris and the angels copulating and Isis bearing this hybrid baby, right, for Horus.
Oh, baby.
I mean, so it's not like sexual magic emerged with Crowley. Right, I think in some of the pushback against Crowley's deviancy or degeneracy, as some people describe it, we've gone a bit too far into Puritanism, and even a lot of magicians just don't want to go there into the whole sex side of it because of our massively polarized culture between Puritanism and utter foot fetishists. So so yeah, they probably were referring to something sexual because that sexual myth and ethos was so entwined with spiritual practice. And a lot of the writings we don't see published and quoted by academics a lot, or by even mainstream occult authors, pertain to that stuff just because it's so strange. Like, creating homunculi with jizz, like blood magic, like all these things exist throughout history, but we don't actually study them historically very much. Probably because, professors aren't going to get tenure talking about that shit at conferences.
Yeah. And
but magicians are like, tell me about it so I can make my rituals more authentic with my chick.
Can I take a crack at that metaphor if anyone matters? Because I am the resident tantric. It kind of makes sense, right? So
good.
I actually understand what he's talking about.
Yo,
He's
your
talking
microphone's
about,
He's roboting.
Sorry
Yeah.
about
Yeah, try again now, Jen.
There you go.
Oh, he left.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought I'd ask that, by the way, because you're like the only other person I've ever met who's actually read that book.
I've been reading that book since 1996, and I've never stopped reading that book.
Nice.
I was reading it in Vienna when I was on student exchange in 96. And in Vienna Waldorf High School, you had religion class that was mandatory, but one of the options for religion class was titled in German Zum Thema Magie. I was like, I asked my exchange student, I'm like, is this what I think it says? Because my German was basically non-existent. Just, of course. That's why I was on exchange. I had studied for 10 years in Waldorf, but it was shit. And she's like, that's the theme of magic. It says the theme of magic. I'm like, so you have a religion studies class and you can do the theme of magic? She's like, yeah, of course. I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. I was from a Waldorf school in Canada, but no, there was no classes on magic or Catholicism or Buddhism or atheism or it was mandated by the Austrian government to study religion. So I went to magic class, and the teacher was a member of the Steiner Christian community. He was a priest, but didn't know anything about magic. He just thought it would be fun to talk about what it might be, and he had no knowledge. And I was reading Franz Hartmann, so I ended up teaching the class in English for the rest of the semester. Nice. It sounds like he was very nonplussed, but like he couldn't deny the amount of information I was bringing. And I was just literally reading from Hartmann on the bus home every day. And I was in Zelator in the Golden Dawn, so I had been practicing a lot for almost a decade by that point. But yeah, Hartmann is so underrepresented, and that's why I audiobooked Magic White and Black. I hope we can bring Hartmann back, you and me. Yeah. I'm glad you
Hell yeah.
I don't appreciate that fucking story.
I know, like, Jin wants to like pop in, but I want to ask, like, do you take
I'm
like
stoked to hear what Jin says, but yeah, go for it.
Let's hear what Jin says.
No, go first. Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to ask, what is it, Frater again, with Franz Hartmann's system that he lays out in Magic Black and White, would you consider that Neoplatonic mysticism, with the whole focusing on the heart and awakening the inner man, and then aligning the inner man's will with the will of the world soul?
I mean, it sounds hermetic and Neoplatonic to the extent that those ideas are very similar, but I don't think I would call it strictly Platonic or Neoplatonic or hermetic, because it's sort of blended for those guys. I think they came out of a culture where they were just those ideas had survived the traumas of the Renaissance, the witch craze, the Enlightenment, and they were just starting to look at these things freshly without too much persecution. Obviously, most places magic was still illegal and all that, but they were starting to really have, I think, the beginning of what we would call a holistic view of things in a freer intellectual climate. And so I don't think it's only when you fast forward 100, 150 years to us that we start saying, okay, no, we've had the holistic view for a long time. Now we need scholarship and academic research to come in and really, apportion the traditions and follow each stream and estuary in a precise way. I don't think those guys were worried about that. I think they were worried about redeveloping spiritual praxis that they inherited from the ancient world in general, and use them in a way that actually had meaning for the modern day people who were just starved of, at the beginning of the spiritual starvation, which came with Puritanism and the Enlightenment, and which we're at the apex of now, I think, today. Now let's talk Tantra, Jin. Come on, baby.
Okay, how's my mic?
Good. You're
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I
I think it
apologize.
was
I
your
need a new
connection. It
cable.
wasn't the quality
Yeah,
of your
it's
mic.
my cable. I apologize. I need a new one. I won't cheap out next month.
Okay.
But okay, so I totally got it. I think basically we call it karma mudra. We don't call it. It's not. Karma mudra does not even need to be practiced with a consort. A consort can also be your own breath, your ruach, to make a pun, or your shakti or your prana. And it also happens in visualization. So you visualize having a consort, or as some would say in tantric Buddhism, the dakinis might arise before you. The sangha of dakinis might arise before you, which are actual sky witches, as we would call them. So the quest to find the perfect tantric consort is sort of perennial as well, and many laws write about the ups and downs of trying to find a
Your
proper
mic is.
consort.
Mic is.
Oh,
going
it's doing it again.
Yeah, I don't know if it's maybe the cable or maybe if you get too loud, sometimes the bandwidth fucks up.
Is it better now?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's fine now. Yes.
Is it good?
Oh yeah, that's even better.
Oh, okay. My apologies. So basically, you want a tantric consort that is of a certain age, is of a certain caste, is of a certain quality. Now, because Tantra tends to frame itself as non-dual, you can actually have what's called a pujari or a chandali. A pujari is the right-handed consort, you could say. She is the high caste Brahmin princess, usually a girl of 16. I'm just saying. I'm just saying conceptually. I'm not saying like to be an edgelord, but that's usually what the age that's given. And she has to be a virgin. Now, Chandali is conceptually 16, but she actually can be a girl of any age, and often it can be a prostitute as well. So, as long as they are skilled in sex tantra. Now, what is a Chandali, you might ask? Well, a Chandali means someone who's an outcast. It doesn't necessarily mean a low case, but it can. It can mean a tribal girl. It can mean a girl who's actually initiated into the Grove mysteries, the mysteries of the 7 matrikas, the 7 mothers. So it's a pujari is someone who's trained in orthodox rites. So you can see it's like a left-handed path consort or a right-handed path consort. So in a non-dual way, we would say that your breath is obviously your consort or your visualization or the sky wives themselves. But in a more maybe outer temple way or outer explanation way, it would actually be a physical female consort, because women are, of course, more empty and more able to, as we would say, to be vessels of the skywives themselves. The actual dakinis can speak through women. But it is not how Western magicians understand it. They do not speak as like channeled mediums. It is in very subtle movements, whispers, looks, glances, touches. It is absolutely not in the gross or Vok city, in the subtlety. So anyways, I just thought that is interesting because I kind of understood like he's looking for a sattvic consort, one that is pure. And then the other idea is that you look for one that is tamasic, one that is impure. And then you meet them together in the middle pillar in this rajasic act. So consort yoga or yab yam, as we would say in Tibetan. Anyways, thank you guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Mike is on a screw up too now.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Good. All right. Was there fuck, I did have a question and I forgot to. I did that earlier a few times. When it comes to Rosicrucianism, Frat RC, was there anything that you wanted to add or anything before we start to wrap it up that maybe we didn't talk about or you think is important? Or you know what? Actually, I remember. I remember now what the question was. We'll start with you. What do you think? I mean, we kind of covered it a little bit, but what do you think was their kind of their goal? Or what do you think was their mission, or like what they really wanted to accomplish? Or I guess, the idea behind Rosicrucianism. For you, Frada.
Well, I think that there's a very persuasive argument that the purpose was to transmit the secret of the Philosopher's Stone to future generations, which is the method of extracting from the acacia plant dimethyltryptamine, which clearly Cagliostro considered the Philosopher's Stone. He used it in his Memphis Mizraim third-degree rites. You go into the coffin, they give you a white stone and a red stone. One's the MAO inhibitor and the other one's the DMT. And you go on your third-degree initiation through the Philosopher's Stone. Not only did Cagliostro do this, Melusina did this in the Russian rite. And so these are old rites, and this was hundreds of years ago. So if those guys had the understanding alchemically of how to extract DMT from acacia, then it reasons that they learned it from someone, right? So maybe Edward Kelly wasn't joking when he called all other alchemists fools and not in possession of the secret of the red powder that only he had. Maybe that was true.
Sure. I like that.
And there's no other word for DMT in history. There's no other description of it. But it existed. It's like in the Bible when scholars say that cannabosum in Hebrew didn't refer to cannabis. And it's like, well, what did it refer to? And they say, well, something else that we don't know anymore. It's like, but did they have cannabis back then? It's like, oh yeah, they had fields and acres of that in their industry. It's like, what did they call it? It's like, oh, we don't know.
I could be wrong, but I think they even recently I saw some article where I don't think it was the ziggurat of Ur, but like somewhere in Iran, I think they ended up like somehow getting like the analysis of like what was kind of in their incense things that they were burning, like kind of like doing at the their major ritual area, and they actually found like cannabis. It was like they were like it wasn't around there, so they had to have actually gotten that from some other motherfucker, like far away.
There was the one site in Israel, what is now Israel, that had the dual pillars. The one pillar for Asherah was taken down, and it was found that her symbology was related to cannabis, and it was on a certain hill with a certain shrine that was made to be torn down during the biblical reform, where they got rid of Asherah and Yahweh was then by himself.
They killed his wife.
Imagine people don't know about that shit. And you go to one of those things and you're fucking throwing like fucking what an ounce of that motherfucker, both of them. Everybody's getting fucking lit. Of course you're gonna be like, oh yeah, God was talking to you. You're fucking stoned out of your head. Especially if you don't know it. I don't know. It's interesting. It'd be interesting to be in that.
And they were famous for they would bake cakes with cannabis to celebrate Asherah. So they surely were, getting some effects.
If in the tent of meeting, if the high priest went into the tent of meeting where they burned branches of acacia rich in DMT and cannabis, which we know from scraping their altars, was a practice later on, if not in the beginning. And again, they learned all this alchemy from the magicians in Egypt, right? The magi and the priests there, right? Clearly these people, there was disparate Canaanite tribes in the hills of Cana that learned things from the Egyptians. We're not accepting the Exodus story here, of course, but we're looking at the children of Israel, the people of Israel came out of these disparate Canaanite hill tribes that learned stuff from Egypt. And it does say in that, tablet, the Israel was ejected from, 1 second. Was ejected, I gotta grab something. Was ejected from Egypt. That's the first appearance of the word Israel in history. And the children of Israel the people of Israel were also there, and they left because there was.
You
this
talking about the
huge fight, right?
Hyksos?
The tablet I'm talking about, the tablet of what's it called?
You know, it's crazy. I covered this like a month and a half ago on my show, and I can't even remember the fucking name. It's the first time Israel ever pops up. Yeah. Fuck. Yeah,
But
it's
it
on a
makes
tablet.
sense that these hill tribes would have gathered together knowledge, and yeah, if they were burning these sacred herbs and stuff, and the high priest then sticks his head in the DMT rich fumes and cannabis and all these other things and probably poisons they were ingesting to talk to God. No wonder the guy needed a rope tied around his waist in case he mispronounced the name of God, quote unquote, OD'd on too much God smoke. I think that lineage carried down to today, and I think we lost a way to describe DMT. Otherwise, because there's no reference to it in all of history. We know that the Eleusinian mysteries were consuming the kukion, and that sometimes that was probably ergot, sometimes it was mixtures of just wine and opium. Probably changed over the hundreds of years and the hundreds of high priests that governed those rites up to Nestorius, right? And we see remnants of that in Spain, of the Eleusinian mysteries and the kukion in Spain. So all these entheogenic substances have been consumed across time, and DMT was one of them. But it doesn't appear till the 20th century. They're trying to tell us it wasn't the Philosopher's Stone, because if you've done DMT, you know how fucking crazy it is when you break through. And it's like if someone told you afterwards that's what the Philosopher's Stone is, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Because what else could be this ultimate substance that makes all other psychedelics look like fucking catnip?
Whoa. Never thought about that.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. And I'm open to new information. It's why I'm running conferences on this topic. We want to hear the critiques. We want to hear the new research. We want to hear all of it.
Is P.D. Newman involved in that?
Yeah, he's been involved from the beginning. He's a good friend. He'll be here and there in person in Austin, Texas next November. Go join EnokiaCon.com. Oh, yeah. And he's going to play guitar with the band. Ike Baker's
I might have to come down there and check that shit out, dude.
I'm going to play some flute and bagpipes.
You're going to be there?
It's my conference.
The
Arcane Research Society is my baby since 2019. Delayed for COVID for 5 years.
Oh man, so sorry. I got
Gates happens.
Yeah, Gates happens. Bill Gates strikes again. Ike Baker was able to swing him on a show for both of them to talk about Plato. So I got him coming back on near the end of it. That guy's awesome.
I could listen to Ike talk forever.
I like P.D. Newman too. I think he was fucking awesome. We had him on.
He's a great book on theology.
He's really good with that stuff.
PD is. Listen to what he shared on my podcast, on my interview with him. What he shared about what he actually does with DMT and ritual, and for how many hours he does it. What the?
Yeah, he did touch upon that stuff a little bit, but we didn't go too crazy.
Yeah, well, he's already.
Go check it out on Friday.
Yeah, check it out. The man is a very interesting guy and a special human being. And
he was a cool motherfucker, man. I really enjoyed having him on. I really thoroughly enjoyed him as a guest. I was really excited to get him back on. So
he did his lectures at EnokiaCon both the last years have been absolutely phenomenal. You know what I'll do actually as a treat for you and all your listeners? This is just for you guys who know this. I'm going to make his lecture from this past year and the year before public for the next 24 hours.
Oh, shit.
I'll make them public.
I'll go check that shit out.
I'm not going to post about this. Go to arcaneresearchsociety.com. Check out EnokiaCon 2024 and 2025. You'll be able to fully preview his entire lectures just for 24 hours. You can spread the word if you want, but it doesn't either way. I will make them public to show you guys what I am talking about. And then I'll have to make them private again. But I'll make those public just because I think this information needs to get out there. Right? Not to be accepted, to be further researched and debated and discussed. That's it.
Thank you so much, man.
That's bullshit.
We're here for service.
Actually, I was thinking Rachel would be interested in that too.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
send
Richard.
Occult
Okay.
Rejects the actual direct link so you can post
Yeah,
them to
yeah.
your. You got an email list?
Yeah. I'll give you my email after the show for sure. Yeah.
Send it to your
And
email
then,
list. I don't care if it gets. I want to promote what I'm doing. So if this is a gesture, then also the information is just fucking nuts. I mean, it's
yeah, I
not
can actually
necessarily
send that
all
out to
fully
my
accepted, but I'm actually more interested in debates against his argument at this point because I'm so convinced I need to see more evidence against what he is saying. That's how we prove things, is by the inability to disprove them. So that's so important. Anyway.
Yeah, I know he's been going. I mean, I've only known him for so long, but I've just noticed like that's his thing. That like DMT and a few other things I've seen him like kind of not promote, but like talk about. Could this be possibly have been used, back in the day? So
I
that's
think Dee
whatever.
and Kelly were very likely using DMT. I think that's what gave birth to the Enochian system.
Ugh. Just think shit, man. So, Richard, what about you, sir? Anything you want to leave us about Rosicrucianism? Oh, yeah. And I guess, I mean, the same question. If there was anything that he left out, like, what do you think was kind of like, what did they want to leave people with? What was the thing that, what was their deal?
My take, not to take anything away from what Freder Rossi said, but my take on Rosicrucianism is they wanted people to awaken. And this is something, awakening is nebulous. Like New Age people say, you got to awaken, man. Or, some more political people be like, take the red pill or wake up, bro. That's not awakening. What they wanted was for people to incarnate the Christ or the Word more specifically, to work with the Word, to do something. And what is the Word? What is the Christ in this context? To them, I believe it is something that is an intercessor between matter and spirit. Whether they wanted to condense spirit into matter or they wanted to be more Gnostic and spiritualize matter and escape, I think it's the opposite. They wanted to spiritualize matter. But there was a kind of a dualism, but it wasn't like dualism, bang. It's like, no, there's a reconciliation between masculine and feminine, between high and low, between black and white. They want to alchemically mix those together, and you need a secret third thing. They wanted to point people towards the secret third thing and to reconcile spirit and matter. And that's what I think their practices are geared towards esoterically. Holy God and angel man comes together, certain other thing, alchemy, fusing elements together. Everything seems to be a reconciliation, a reintegration, a rejuvenation. The 3 R's. Lots of R's. Richard Ruach. Reintegration, rejuvenation. That's what it's
the rebirth.
Rebirth.
Yeah.
I think that's what they wanted.
Very nice. I like that. Both answers. I love them. Nice. Did anybody have any questions or anything? Judith or Jen or Jules?
Judith, I think she had a question.
Yeah, I
earlier.
did have a question, and it's going back to the manifesto. Actually, are you familiar with the scales of Mott?
Yes. And actually, I flicked through and I just saw a question then, and I was like, oh, whoops.
No, well, no, I didn't know if it was something that you could, touch on. And yes, I do plan on reading that, ordering that and reading that. But I was wondering, I find it ironic that instead of being lighter than a feather, you had to be heavier than the scale itself with nothing on it. So, I mean,
I think they had an angel statue of an angel on the other side. Sorry, something like that. But fundamentally, it's something divine. You need to be heavier than it. Whereas Matt, you need to be lighter than the symbol of truth.
And I don't know if have you ever looked at the difference between the two? Because
as you said, I'm like, oh, that is actually interesting. So in Egyptian mythology, it's when you die, your heart gets placed in the scale of. On the scales, and the feather of Matt, the feather of truth, is on the other scale. And if it's heavier, then it gets swallowed up by the crocodile guy whose name I keep forgetting. And it's interesting because Amut. And it's like it is literally the exact opposite in the alchemical wedding. It's not about being lighter; it's about being heavier. And why do they do that? I don't know. I don't know, because for me, it's like, it may be that thing that I was saying, but the difference between Gnosticism, like Gnostics see the world as like, oh no, you got to escape. So you divinize matter, you spiritualize it, you refine matter, and you escape outwards. So of course you want it to be lighter. But the other way is also, you thicken the spirit, and then you crystallize it, and you divinize matter. So the Rosicrucians seem to be, hence the utopianism, hence that kind of thing. So it may be this concept of what they want. It's the same thing with the scale of matter. You need to be virtuous, but the appearance is the virtue actually has a weight in the Rosicrucian system, so it becomes heavier. That's their idea. Whereas in the Egyptian, it seems to be almost more Gnostic. It's to be virtuous is to be lighter. But the whole thing is you need the virtue. You need the virtue as the thing that connects it both. It connects both the scales. But that's a very interesting thing. I actually, that never would have come to my mind unless you pointed that out. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
All right. What about you, Friday? You got any thoughts on that at all?
Had a distraction for the last part. Sorry. I love the idea of the heaviness, and I don't know. I don't have any thoughts on that. It makes me think, you have to have substance to bring to the work. And you notice how in our world, people who don't tend to need spirituality or want it tend to maybe not have so much to deal with. And it makes me think of modern Rosicrucians like Valentin Tomberg, who was the spiritual successor of Rudolf Steiner. He talks about these paths being for people who are actually, like, he talks about Hermeticists as actually being kind of disabled, which I think is adorable because, we all need different things to get through this world. And just like spirituality is something that some of us need, not having spirituality is something that others of us need. So, it's not about awakening the whole planet. It's about permitting spiritual freedom, human freedom, and allowing people to follow their own paths. And that's what Rudolf Steiner, as a Rosicrucian, I think really left behind him as a message that is valuable to us today. Freedom. I think I'm talking mostly to Americans, right? So, I mean, you guys are the last bastion for better or for worse. And if you guys fall apart, we're all fucked.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate because a lot of Christians are scared to read these Rosicrucian texts, man. They look at it and they go, oh, it's satanic, it's evil, and it's hard to get them past that, that point.
But I think that's what Tomberg was arguing against, is saying that we should get them to read this stuff. Leave them alone. Leave your fundamentalist Sunday church Christian. Yeah, they're not disabled like we are.
So you think that if
we're rejects
someone
and
finds
retards,
it, then it's meant for them, then they'll seek out the knowledge?
If you need it, you seek.
Right.
And if you seek, you find.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Let muggles be muggles, man.
I hear you.
Let it be.
I agree.
The contrast in the scales, I think, kind of reflects to what Richard, you were saying earlier, and the whole element of Rosicrucianism, perhaps anyway, that with Ma'at, it's death and we have to let things go. Whereas the teachings of Rosicrucianism, as you pointed out, is kind of like bring it to the world, right? You have to bring your elements and your weight and put it forth, right? Maybe as a contrast.
Well, as was it Fredo Rossi was saying, I think that comment just came up saying, hooray, everyone is on their own path. NPC is a bad word. I like to say people have normal person consciousness. If someone has normal person consciousness, leave them as they be. I like to say there's like three things. There's the religious, the spiritual, and the mystic. A religious person fundamentally believes that there's something beyond the veil, but they don't actually care. What they want is ethics. Derive morality from the ontology. Give me the Bible. Give me a book that has all the answers, and then let me live my life. That's a religious person. If they have a spiritual experience of Christ or something, I'm sure they'd be happy, but they can live their entire life just working in the world, and they're fine. That's a religious person. Whereas a spiritual person wants that experience. they go around searching. The Ouroboros, kind of like they actually actively engage with certain things. That's how I define the difference between religious and spiritual. And the spiritual person may be more eclectic. And the final one, the lowest one, is the mystic, which I would say a mystic doesn't choose to be a mystic. That's when something beyond the veil reaches down and pulls you up. And like, mystics are just mystics. We can learn from them and take things from them, but they're doing their own thing. They're doing their own thing. And the religious people respects them. Spiritual people may learn from them, but it's like, there's a certain 3-tier category there. And with the religious people, they're happy. Maybe you could get them to read Swedenborg or The Cloud of Unknowing, but I don't know if you could get them to read Heinrich Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy. That might be a bit beyond them.
Well, they don't need to. Like,
Yeah.
mainstream religion lets in what it needs to let in at the time in which it can be accepted and valuable. And you saw this with, here's a random example, the intrusion of pop music and hippie folk music and guitar music into churches, right? That's such an easy thing to criticize, especially as a Latinist and a traditionalist like myself. I want so much incense that little Susie and Bobby are choking in the pew, right? Saying, "Mama, please make it stop." That's how much traditionalism I want. But when you go into a church and you see these guys playing guitars like, "In my life, you are the spirit," and see everyone praising, like, that is just as magical as any Golden Dawn ceremony I've ever been a part of. That's just as powerful as any British Columbia First Nations sweat lodge I've been dancing around naked in high school with all the classmates and teachers and you name it. Because, yeah, it's the West Coast hippie way, right? Like, we just go for it. It all works. It all works really well, and it meets people where they're at. You want to see occultism influencing or esoteric thought influencing the mainstream churches? It happens all the time. Valentin Tomberg brought all of his life's work mainstream into Catholic Christianity, and he says explicitly because he thought it would allow it most to survive. And the reason any of us know the Meditations on the Tarot published by Anonymous, Valentin Tomberg, I've done a series on my YouTube, is because he decided that was the appropriate vessel to carry these teachings forward. And it worked. You see this almost 100 years before him with the Golden Dawn initiate, Evelyn Underhill, who I did my PhD on. She was a mainstream Anglican. And to this day, if I present a workshop at an Anglican church here or Episcopal church in the States on contemplative prayer and Evelyn Underhill, that means I get to talk about her little book, Practical Mysticism, 1915, 1920. And the first exercise in it is Meditation 1 from the Golden Dawn.
I have that book on my bookshelf, still haven't read it.
So that's Golden Dawn magic and meditation, Hermetic practice, fully now almost over 100 years in the Anglican mainstream. Not only in the mainstream, elevated as almost gospel level credibility in the Anglican spiritual world. So massive amounts of influence from esoteric practitioners hits the mainstream. It's happening, it's there. And there's much more dialogue and interplay than I think we often, realize.
Totally agree with that. Thank you for mentioning that, actually.
Just happy to be part of the club.
I need
for life.
Yeah, there he is. All right. Nice. What are you drinking in there? I was going to ask you.
I am having a Friday night margarita, baby.
Nice.
Tequila is celiac's best friend. Yeah. I do have a alchemy lecture to prep for the rest of the evening. Hit the hay by midnight, and I'm on the West Coast, so it's only 8 o'clock here where I am. Yeah, and then I've got a 8 a.m. D&D game playing World of Darkness with Jason Louv, and then at noon I have a 2-hour lecture on alchemy to Golden Dawn initiates.
Oh shit! Nice alchemy. What do you? How you doing that? How do you get that structured?
Well, Melissa Seams is an amazing historian who's just done an expose on one of the original Golden Dawn temples, and she has a great article analyzing the alchemy of the neophyte initiation in the Golden Dawn, the 00 or not initiation. And it's very interesting because she wrote it with a psychologist who incorporated Jungian psychology. So they're all reading that, and we're going to comment on that. But then I'm going to obviously try and convince them to read Brian Cotnoir's 2 books that I showed you. And there's a third, The Emerald Tablet, because like there are modern authors that are doing whose books function as synopses or distillations, transformations of lead into gold of hundreds of books that went before them, whether they read those books or not. There is such phenomenal work being done these days in just tiny little booklet forms, even, right? Again, like Dr. Sledge pointed out today on Esoterica channel, it's not all about size.
And yo, next time you talk to him, be like, yo, you told my boy on Instagram you come on the podcast, and now you're not answering him.
Did he tell you that?
He gave me his email, and I emailed him, and now he hasn't answered me. But he said, yeah, I'd love to. Yo, I told people I got all
He
excited.
hasn't responded to my last email since he was here in person drinking absinthe with me at my conference. And so I haven't gotten a response either. And all I'm trying to do is send him money. So if he's too busy to even be sent money, good luck getting him.
Yeah, right. I can see
he
that.
He hasn't been on mine. I'm just trying to pay the motherfucker.
Yeah, dude, I got all excited. I was like, holy shit, he answered me on Instagram.
He's busy. He's a busy guy.
Oh, no, I know he is. It was just, that was a huge name. I was like, holy fuck, this
guy. Yeah, his new library set up, his new 4K camera, and his new bit on theurgy today. Fucking great. I gave him like a big comment tip or whatever because it's just so important. And his lecture is public also on our 2025 page for EnokiaCon. You can watch his lecture, and it's an argument essentially saying Hermeticism should be taught in the universities, mainstream, everywhere. And his argument for why will fucking melt your head. It's like so good. It's so good. I'm going to do a whole promotional campaign pushing it to universities this year, because the big problem is getting universities to catch up to the modern era. They're caught up in a bunch of nonsense these days, and I'm going to keep that vague.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I think we're already over 2 hours, so I think we'll wrap it up there.
Well, Richard, listening to you talk about Rosicrucianism has been such a pleasure. I'm going to go back and watch your rant on Amorc that I missed, man. But you're welcome on my podcast anytime, brother. And I'm going to have all the rejects on, and my goal is to ask them as many fucked up questions as I can think of.
Hell yeah! I'll bring some cider. Let's do it.
Yeah, bring the cider and ketamine.
Oh man, that's a party. All right.
I'll bring the cider. You bring the ketamine.
I'll bring a dippy. You really have a party. All right. All right. Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up now. Thank you both. But Richard, obviously, I mean, you're the original guest. Browder, that's awesome that you're in chat. You're like, yeah, come on. Fuck yeah, that's cool as shit, dude. So thank you both. But before we wrap this up, I'll have the other rejects promote their own stuff as well. So Judith, Alun, please let everybody know what's up with you.
First, thank you for having me. Thank you, Richard and Freight RC. This was a wonderful conversation, enlightening, and it probably could go for, in my opinion, a few more hours. But you can find me at The Loon on YouTube and on X. And I do mindfulness and self-awareness. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Jin the Ninja. What's going on, sir?
What's up? Thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it, Richard. Appreciate it, Fred RC. Appreciate it, Ethan. Of course, Jules from Grape Hill. And of course, Judith. Loon, I really enjoyed this. I don't obviously know that much about Western magic, and I don't even know how much I can contribute most of the time, but it's always interesting to learn about. So if you want to check me out, you can, I'll just plug my Substack, thresholdsaints.substack.com. You can find the whole, almost 100 episodes of the show there, or you can follow me on Twitter at Wukong Reborn, WUKONG Reborn. So thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you coming on.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
What's your show about, Jin?
My show is about serial experiments and speculative ontology is what I call it. So it's about kind of meta magic and speculative Kabbalah, speculative Kalachakra, and speculative Gnosticism. But I usually use like a pop culture lens. Like sometimes we'll discuss like a film, and we'll do like heavy Kabbalah, or sometimes I'll have like I had Andrew Edwards on, who's like a major alt-lit figure, like in I had Dustin Cole on, who's a West Coast poet from Vancouver, actually, and he has a great new book called After Sunstone. So I have like that different kinds of things, and then sometimes people are normie and sometimes people are magicians. Like I had Greg K on, and I've had Ike on, and different people, and also a lot of Buddhists. So because I'm a Buddhist, so it makes sense, right, that I have a lot of people who are into Dharma. So yeah, I've had it's eclectic, but it's a true KO show. That's what it is. It's my Aether Wave graffiti.
So
Well, I would even
I'll
even
check it out.
even with his Grey Lodge stuff. I mean, he even said it himself. He took a bite off of me. He even has a couple of dudes that like make the show itself. So we even have all different point of views on the same topic, kind of like this. He's got going on over there. I think it's well done. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, the Grey Lodge. So that's also an option too, Fritter, is that there's 4 of us. So we each bring a different perspective. I do like more Dharma, a little left-hand path, a little chaos magic, and but from the middle pillar perspective. And then we have a left-hand path guy from the Temple of Set. We have Matt, who comes on this show all the time. He's really good at Kabbalah and astrology and more of this, what he calls pop Kabbalah, like teaching the normies, especially the Zoomer kids, like all about everything and trying to relate it to their lives. And then we have Joshua, who specializes he's a Mason, and he also does he's really good at like Old Testament and New Testament Kabbalah. So we each bring our own perspective, and we'll have like different themes. So our space for the 13th is February 13th is Will as the Cause of Fire, an exposition on the Gnostic set. So we actually did a whole 11-part series on the Aeon of the Daughter, where I rectified Frater Achad's Kabbalistic tree from that working, and from Nema's also Aeon of Mot working. So that's kind of even why Judith and I connect so like closely, because we both love Mott in a way. And so yeah, that's basically what my show is. It's like we call it meta magic or meta magicians for the new Aeon. So it's weird. I don't know what else to say.
The popular Golden Dawn invocation for the Egyptian goddess Ma'at was actually that it's popular now and put in many orders grade materials. It was actually written by me in 2001, and then it was distributed by orders as though it was an older teaching, which is kind of cool. I've never released it publicly, but you're making me think I should. I love the fact that you guys are fellow Ma'atians. So yeah, I look forward to talking to you more, brother. Always great to hear the Eastern perspective on things, and thanks for giving the full pitch for your podcast, because I kind of felt like I needed to hear it from you, and it was actually really enticing. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Give me the space to do that right at the end. I apologize, guys. Apologies, but yeah, I wanted to give a full answer. So thank you very much, Frater RC.
Oh, thank you, Jim. All right. Great. Jules, what's going on, sir?
Yeah. Shout out Mott, the wife of Thoth. Yeah, that's funny that you have a Grey Lodge, Jen. I have a Grey Lodge, but it is a Patreon tier, and it is like a play on words between the White and Black Lodge from Twin Peaks. We did a whole show little watch party /
analysis it took like 6 months to do on Patreon. But guys, it's the best way to support the show. If you want to find me, patreon.com/GrayPillPodcast.
Look at that, Jules. Look at that shit. Look what he's got.
Oh, that's beautiful, man.
The Great Northern Key. Is that Cooper's room?
Yes.
That is awesome.
The key that keeps popping up.
He's got the
People
keys
keep
over there.
finding, leads him back. Yeah. quite literally. Gray Pill Pod on X, guys. Tune in tomorrow morning. Gods of the Morning Wood, 9 a.m. We're starting off with the adepts in Western esoteric traditions, finishing up the book, and then we are moving into part 2 on the Volsunga saga. I'm very, very, very excited for that because we're doing a little off story, like the wolf. What was it? The wolf bitches of Thessaly. It's going to be the wolf bitches of Gothland. So y'all tune into that. First half is live. Second half is on Patreon. And I don't think I have anything else this weekend, but tune in. I think we have some more Occult Reject shows. And no, this was great tonight. Learned a lot. And yeah, I followed you. I think I followed you both, Frater and Richard. If not, then I will now. But it was good meeting you guys. And yeah, Nick, thank you again for having me on, brother.
Oh, of course. Thank you.
Oh, and thank you, Rocky, for the 5 subscriptions on Rumble, and Fire Pixie for the $5 donation. Thank you guys. And Frater, thank you earlier for the $10 donation, man. I think that was you.
Thank you very much. And Ethan Indigo, sir, what is up?
It's Canadian dollars, so it's like $2 US.
And then after you, it's like 5 cents.
I was about to say.
I really appreciate you, Richard and Frater, and everyone dropping all of the knowledge and wisdom to help awaken us all. So I appreciate you guys. And I love bringing together the East and West, especially Ma'at and Thoth. In fact, there's the Eastern representation of them in Fuzi and Nuwa, essentially. And so I love exploring all these fundamentals with you guys. So and I do that in frequency with my writing and so on. If people want to follow or communicate. And again, thank you guys so much.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. And Fred RC, what's going on, man? I'll let everybody know where they can find all your amazing work. Thank you for coming on.
Well, I mean, I'm the Hermetic Podcast. Just did a Reddit AMA the other day, and that was I was so actually terrified to do that. Like right off the bat, people were asking me about like zinc and the old days, and I was like, oh fuck. But I was like, I can spell it out. Plus, we've already litigated that on mine and Edward's podcast. So like, it was what was the question? I already interviewed a Llewellyn author today, man. I wasn't expecting to come online, but fortunately you guys are madmen, so I was absolutely, and mad women, so I was happy to jump on and see what happened. But yeah, you can find me at Hermetic Podcast, Hermetic Mystery School, and really check out, like, I'm doing a conference in Austin in November, but a workshop in Austin in May with Jason Louv, who's no slouch. Like, the guy's so hardcore. Like, I have to wake up at 8 a.m. tomorrow to play, like, World of Darkness with him on Zoom because someone couldn't play tomorrow, but he still wants to play. He's serious about everything he does, and that's what I love about him. He's a chaot. He's a legend. I mean, how many of us are on Netflix, eh? Right? Yeah. So, we're doing a workshop with him in May. Join the Arcane Research Society. Attend the lectures and the workshop he does. I'm going to invite some other notable people for May. And November, the lineup is fucking crazy. The November lineup for EnokiaCon, go to enokiacon.com. The lineup is crazy, and it's only going to get crazier. Check it out. We're trying to, as my fellow Vancouverites, Sarah McLaughlin says, build a mystery.
Oh yeah, man! I really look forward to this shit. Definitely got to come check you out. Sure. See if in the United States, I got to take advantage of that. Thank you.
Yeah,
very
you
much.
guys got to come. stir up some shit in
I'll
Austin.
definitely will. No, I definitely will, man, for sure. Because I'll be totally honest with you, because I mean, I've mentioned it on the show before. I have a felony, and I still got a year
You can't
before
come to Canada.
Yeah, so I can never
Dude.
come see you if I wanted to. So
Well,
I have another.
That's the fact that we're one of the benefits of us doing it in Austin in America next year, and the year after that we're in Czech Republic in Prague, and then hopefully Scotland, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
but otherwise back in But one of the benefits of next year is we were actually able to invite Damien Eccles. So we'll see if my buddy shows up. And John Michael Greer's been invited. He might show up. He might not. We'll find out. But the list of people we already have is off the charts. And so check out enochiacon.com, Arcane Research Society. It's going to be amazing. And you'd love to have you there. I have some ideas about live podcasting from there and live streaming from there. And I'd like to talk to you about those ideas. We need crazy people to do that. Sane, rational people can't live stream or podcast during a busy conference where everyone's running around, but a mad motherfucker like you might be able to pull it off.
I've actually I've done that like once already for somebody. I kind of ran around and filmed a bunch of shit for him. So like I already have.
You look like one of these guys that could, live stream while running around Minnesota.
Dude, if you saw the cameras that I have, I could easily even set up shit to where you'll have like 4K 60 frames per second like film that you could even record the shit and do whatever you want.
We want to do some footage for a documentary as well. So we want to do some professional footage. Let's talk.
Yeah. No, the shit I have looks like the camera they use in the news. I'm not even joking.
I believe you.
Yeah. I got the wireless Rode mics that the fucking news people use. I got all that shit. Yeah, nice. Well,
like I said, let's talk.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Enough about that. Back to the guest. Oh, yes, we are. So let's get back to the actual guest. Richard, please. Richard Ruach. Let everybody know what's up with you, where they can find all your amazing work, sir. Thank you very much.
Find me on YouTube. Find me on Substack. Find me on Twitter. It's Twitter, not X. Let's be honest. And check out my stuff on YouTube. Become a member. If you become a Gnostic Hierophant, not just an Atlantis enjoyer, you can get access to the secret Telegram chat where you can ask me personal questions. And other than that, keep an eye out. I've got some things in the pipeline, nowhere near on the level of Freighter RC. But I got some things coming up.
Nice, cool, man. Cool.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you, man. Definitely get you on again in the future if you ever like. And thank you, Colin, for suggesting him. You all right? Perfect guest for the show. I had a blast. And it was awesome, Freight RC, that you jumped on, man. That is what's up. That's some badass shit. And I appreciate all the other rejects coming here tonight and making the show what it was. And thank you, everybody in the chat. That's what's up. And everybody on the other platforms. I can see you on my end on StreamYard. So I appreciate it all and seeing you guys here. That's why we go live. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.